In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcasted over Lunenburg Public Access Channel and will be uploaded to the Lunenburg Public Access YouTube channel. The following information will also provided, my printer is not reading well, sorry, for members of the public that would like to participate in the meeting remotely. To participate remotely from a computer using a browser, please go to www.zoom.com and click on join. When prompted, please enter the meeting ID 792-737-0353. From a telephone dial the toll-free number 888-475-4499 and enter the webinar 792-737-0353. If you have not registered with Zoom, you'll be asked for your name and the email address. Note participant ID is not needed. Just press star when asked. Telephone users may dial 9 to request to speak after joining the meeting. Computer and app users may use the raise hand feature to request to speak. The agenda lists all the topics in which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought for discussion, the extent it permitted by the open meeting law. All right, so I guess we got to do a roll call. Karen?
Here.
Chris?
Here.
Pat?
Yep.
All right, I'm here for myself. All right. So open meeting. So we have quite a few people from town here. Do other members of the board mind if I skip around some of the agenda items? Because I know Paul has some restriction in terms of time that he can be here. And I think that we'll have some items that we'll probably be discussing later on. Is that okay with everyone?
Fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Chris?
public comment to start, I noticed was missing from the agenda. I just missed that.
Karen put it towards the bottom.
Oh, it's the bottom. All right.
Yeah, but
That's
if
fine. We can
anyone
do it later.
wants, yes, if anyone wants to have a public comment that might be relevant to an agenda item, we can move that around too.
Or in case there's someone here that can't stay till the end.
Right. Okay, so let's maybe. All right, let's go into DPW Town Manager Recreation Director update with discussions. We have so many people here, so I don't know if you guys want to start with that. Bill, Paul, Heather. Who's the one going to provide the updates?
I think Bill should probably provide the update for this meeting, and then going forward, I'll probably be the one, or the new rec director in conjunction with the one or two of us providing the updates. I know Bill took the time to update the running file that was prepared with anything like that for agenda, and going forward, I'll just make sure that I update that. And if there's questions or something pending, I'll make sure that I get back to you on it. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
Great. Bill?
Okay, so Anna, what are you looking for? Do you want me to go over your list?
You can go over the list and anything that has passed within the past month. I know, I don't think we have officially announced that the, we can, well, the rec director left, so I think for the public interest, we should maybe touch on that.
Okay, yeah, so that is the biggest news. Our rec director, Rob, has left the town of Lunenburg. He's no longer employed. And we are in the process of finding a new rec director. We have fine-tuned the job description a little bit. I think that's further down the agenda. We can wait on that. Other than that, just so everybody knows, right now all the phone calls that were going to Rob are now coming to me, so they're not going unanswered. The parks email is coming to me, so that's not going unanswered. And well, I guess we can get into the project spreadsheet
Sure.
a little bit. So I'll just go down the list. You have the weeds at the town beach. So I reached out to our conservation agent, Nadia, and she says we will have to file a notice of intent to do any work there. And I reached out to Solitude Lake Management. That's a company that can help us with the weeds. They have some solutions. So I spoke with a gentleman from some southern state. He had a southern accent and sounded like they were going to get right back to me with the local branch, and nobody's called me back. So I'm waiting on that. I also found another company that does the same work, Aquatic Control Technologies, but I haven't reached out to them yet. The same would apply to the weeds at the Marshall Pond. And also on the list was at Marshall Pond, there was some old light poles that were falling over. My guys at the DPW, they ran right over and they managed to take down, I think it was 3 of them. There's only 1 left. It was in a tough spot. They couldn't get to it because of the water. It's probably best if we wait till everything's frozen and then we can get out there and cut that one down too. And what else is on the list? Graffiti at Marshall Park. So I walked all around Marshall Park. The dugouts there was no graffiti there. The bleachers, there was no graffiti there. The only place I found graffiti was an old abandoned skateboard ramp.
Yep.
And there's some kind of structure that's kind of out in the woods next to that skateboard ramp. I don't think it's worth painting either. It's probably best if we take those structures down. That I see no use for either one of them at this point. And then I looked at the baseball court over at Wallace Park, and there are a couple of small areas where the surface is peeling off. So it's kind of interesting looking surface I wasn't familiar with. So I was hoping somebody on the commission maybe had some idea of what went down and when it went down, and maybe what company did the work. So we can go from there to try to get it repaired.
That would be me. Let me scour my emails and see what I can come up with, see if I can come up with the name of who did it. I believe it was done with when our previous recreation director, I think when our previous not the last one, the one before that. So I should be able to come up with a timeline for you. I'll go through my emails tomorrow morning and I'll forward it to you what I find.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's about all I have at this time.
So, and this is in the Bill, as a follow-up to another of my emails. You didn't list a lot of the things that are being monitored now that the rec director is gone. The scheduling of the fall activities for the fields and the collection of fees. Do we have an update who's managing that? And there was also, last that we knew, Little League still owed some fees from the summer. Have those been collected?
I have not seen the fees from the Little League yet.
Okay.
And maybe Paul might want to answer your other questions.
Okay.
Well, I responded to some of your questions via email. So what was your first question again about the schedule? Who's going to maintain the schedule
Yeah, like what's
for upcoming
because-
event?
Yeah, so what is the plan for scheduling, for the fall scheduling? I think what you wrote, I'll be discussing with the town manager and advice once I have the information.
Well, I guess my first order of business is today's my second full week, is to really just find out where we stand with a lot of these projects. And then as far as scheduling, I'm going to work with the IT department and see what we can do about getting a scheduling program, bringing it over to my laptop and taking a look and seeing how I can start adding things to that schedule. And then I'll be reaching out to the commission if I need some additional help with that. And then I'm going to be working with Heather on some things from a support end to try to bring that up to speed and not let it fall down until we get a rec director on board.
You want me to simplify your life? if this is helpful at all. The only users of the field this fall should be the Little League.
Mhm.
It could just be as simple as what was done prior to our rec director coming on, and just shooting them over an email and just asking what their usage for the fall is, and
Sure.
just having it doesn't have to be any, there's not going to be a ton of use, just knowing who's out there and when they are and who's there.
Sure. It's
You
good,
know,
it's good.
just so you don't have to, you don't need to expend a ton of time on it. The only other, I think I ran this by Heather, but if you do talk to anybody from the Little League, and I can send you over their contacts. The president's name is Steve Chow.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can send it over to you. But I don't remember when their certificate of insurance is expired, and I don't know if they're calendar year or if they're like, January to December, or if they work on the same sort of fiscal type year that we work on in Lunenburg. So we may just want to just verify that they have that. I don't know when they were updated last. But if
also
anybody
remind them
didn't
of
tell
the-
you, I bring the worst luck. If something's gonna happen, it will happen while I'm sitting on this commission. So, it might be a good idea just to verify that. But I'll
I'd
send
remind
you
them
the
of the
email.
porta potty policies as well. Just a fresh reminder for the
Sure.
fall. They're gonna have a porta potty there.
Okay,
So, Paul, the Little League, sometimes they bring porta potties to the fields. And there is a policy and a procedure that they must follow. Karen, maybe can you forward that to Paul as well?
Mhm.
And also, I think a dumpster, sometimes they bring that in, but I don't think they'll bring that in for the fall league.
there's probably one already down there.
Okay, so she'll send you both of those policies because it pertains mostly to them. And in recent history, we have had issues with that. Prior to us having a policy and even after them having a policy. Just earlier this spring, the health board had the porta potties removed because they hadn't followed the procedure. So she'll send you that information, and when you're in touch with them, just help them remember those policies.
Sounds good. I appreciate that. Bill, how did you deal with that during the spring season, Bill? I'd be curious to know, since you were so instrumental with it. Did
The
you have
spring
any
season,
information on that?
We had Rob Thompson was still here, the rec director, so
Do you have any information that you can forward to me?
I can look. I probably don't.
Okay. Anything you have would be great if you could send it to me.
Absolutely.
That's great. Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other question from the board to the,
What would go in to take, I'm all in favor of taking down an old skate park ramp and that random cement block structure. Is there a formal process we would need to go through to take it down and avoid the future? I think most of the graffiti was painted over. I know on the dugouts, Bill, I think it might have been Rob that mentioned someone came into the office and needed some community service or something. I think they painted the painted over the graffiti that was on the dugouts and stuff like that. But there was some questionable phrasing and so forth on that green cement structure. So just, that was my only concern in terms of covering the graffiti. It's just phrases and things that don't need to be visible. But I mean, you're correct. It doesn't serve a purpose. And if it can be taken down simply, then I would support taking it down. Removing the old skate park, structure that's there, it doesn't serve a purpose. It can be removed. And would remove a couple of things that where graffiti is prevalent. So.
Paul, I'm sending you an email right now. Can you just reply back to me? It doesn't have to be tonight that you got it. Because the Parks Commission is still using our old email stuff. It doesn't auto-populate your address. So I just want to make sure it's going to the right person.
Sure, when I can log in to get it, I will.
Yeah, there's no rush. That way, if
Absolutely.
I need to resend it tomorrow, if I don't get a yay or nay from you, I can do that.
You
So,
got it.
thank you.
So I can address what Chris was just asking. I think the DPW, we can go over there and get rid of those structures fairly easy.
You're gonna take it down. Bill, maybe we'll take a walk over there and meet over there, see what the grade might be and then the finished product would look like.
Sure.
If we
Yeah, I
need
think
any
that's cement.
substrate or anything.
I think both of those areas are on just a paved area. So I don't think the grade would change, and that they should be able to get a vehicle right to those structures or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, they don't serve a purpose. So since you're
Yeah.
taking them down, if it's simple enough, we don't need to go through some sort of crazy process to do it. I don't know if the rest of the commission has any thoughts. I'd say take them down.
I'll leave up. I think, you know, if Bill and Paul want to take a walk there and make an assessment, I think that's good. And I think that's more of their, you know, their side of the world. So, okay. I don't think we need necessarily a vote on that. All right, thank you, Bill. So I'm gonna jump to number 5, updates from beach director. Liz is with us. Thank you, Liz, for joining us.
No problem.
Yeah, so how did the season go, and what went well, what didn't go very well, and what can we do for next year?
I thought the whole season went really well. We were really much busier than we have been the last couple of years. Swim lessons during the week, I thought we were very busy for those. Everyone seemed happy. The only complaint, but you already talked about it, were the weeds. That's really the only thing that we would get complaints about, is just all the weeds that people were swimming in. But besides that, everyone seemed very happy and everything went quite smoothly.
That's great. Okay. Do you have any, aside from the weeds, any thoughts on anything that we can maybe pre-plan for next year that might be helpful? I know the beach house, we hopefully will have it back. I know that's on everybody's radar.
Yeah.
I know that there was some equipment that Bill bought this year. Any kind of equipment that we might need to look for next year? Anything to just...
Equipment wise, I think we're good. It would be nice to start the year with like a fresh thing of sand on the whole beach. Definitely, like when he put the sand down by the gate there, that was awesome. But the rest of the beach really could use quite a bit of sand. And have it kind of like graded and just raked out before the season even opened. That would be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's one that, you know, having the time to plan allows it to be done. Yeah. No, that's great. Okay. Well, thank you, you know, and thank you for stepping in this year. This was your first year as the beach director, right?
Yes. Yep.
Well, congratulations on the first year. Hopefully you'll be here for as many years as your mom was.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely be back. It sounds like most of the guards, I think they all said they were coming back next year. So unless something changes, it should be the same group of people, which is awesome.
Oh, that's great. And that probably makes it easier for the operations too.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. Everybody works so well together that it works out good.
Awesome.
Liz, I want to echo what Anna said. Thank you for a great season. I know that I had a lot of great compliments this year, so that was nice on everybody from you to the lifeguarding staff. And I did want to, I will be forwarding an email to Bill and Paul. Jared Bowser, who's actually on this, he has been wonderful this summer and just making sure that the commission was aware of things that were going on. He took some fantastic pictures of the weed situation down at the beach. It was just nice. It was nice to be able to document it. So Paula, I mean, Bill, I don't know if in your, like when you're reaching out to these people, if pictures would be helpful, but I will send along what Jared sent to me. And Liz, my request of you for next year, and it's hard because you're not on the clock officially usually until the end of May, but whoever we bring in for a rec director, if even if it's just to give your 2 cents on swim lessons. I know that Saturday swim lessons happened again this year, and it happened because we had a group of people that had reached out wanting Saturday lessons, but it sounded like attendance was a bit sporadic.
Yeah, really, we had one family only one family attended the entire thing. All the rest of the families would come like 1 week, be gone to, Saturdays are tricky, like people are vacationing and stuff, but, so yeah, I feel
And
like
that
during
makes it
the
hard
weekend-
for you guys.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so, just thinking of Jared's, that comment that came from Jared, I sort of, part of the draw for Saturdays was because, it's when parents, working parents are home. So, maybe we try something different next year. Maybe there's
yeah.
an opportunity to do, a nighttime swim lesson or something to, give these kids who have working parents the opportunity. But if you could, watch for our new rec director coming on, I'll try to
definitely.
remind them. Jared's really good about reminding me of things too.
Yeah.
It'd be great to be able to, keep our swim lessons going and include everybody. So thank you.
Oh,
Thank you
yeah,
for a really good
definitely.
summer. It was great.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Les.
Thank you.
So I'll jump, I think all right, so let's talk, the rec director job description. I had sent that over to everybody, and I think that's one of the reasons Heather is here. I have brought I looked over and the description, and I had some thoughts about, our experience of this past 2 years almost that I'm with the commission, and things that could be, maybe the job description could be made that make it more clear, for the purpose of being, a healthy relationship between the Parks Commission and rec director. And also I added a couple things that I'll be happy to share my thoughts as well, but that would address make the job description responsibility tie in with how the charter is drafted for as regards parks. So that's my introduction to the subject, but Heather, maybe I'll give Heather the floor.
Thank you, Anna. So the commission does have the draft that was reviewed by the facilities director, Paul, as well as reviewed by the DPW director, Bill, as he was previously responsible for the rec director, and also the HR director reviewed it, and myself. So the comments that we went through and track changes were really to clarify roles and responsibilities, as well as changing anything that referred to the DPW, now that it's under the facilities department and under the facilities director. So that was some major changes. Also removing any reference to their responsibilities for the facilities, because that is the facilities director's responsibility as well. So I don't know if you want to go through it, share it and go through it that way.
Sure. Karen, you have it on the
Yes, I do.
yeah.
Let me get it up. Hold on, I just gotta share my screen. Anna, Dave tried to get on, but he couldn't get on, and he tried copying the link and it didn't get him there. So I think he just threw in the towel because he's at work. So let me figure out how to share this screen. Share screen. All right, did that come up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, there you go. So you can see under the supervision, it's now under the facilities director instead of the DPW director. So that's one change. Just clarification, it didn't make sense when we reviewed that second paragraph under job environments to change it to activities instead of facilities. Because really it's the rec director is mostly about administrative and programming. And we'll let the facilities director know if there's any maintenance or repairs that need to be done at those locations. Any questions there?
No, no, not really.
I think I want to reserve my comments till you go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just to get, so I have just so I can do a big picture instead of the little stuff.
Okay.
All right.
So again, taking out reference to facilities. That second bullet point, we should be able to remove that because I think it's a duplication of publicizing, which is referenced above. So obviously the intent in publicizing is to gain community interest. So I think that really is kind of a duplication of the same, saying it a different way. Below reports the facilities director, any park and field equipment or park facilities in need of repair or maintenance, like I said, versus delegating, that is the responsibility of the facilities director to delegate those repairs and maintenance, and provides input to the facilities director on any long-term needs. Further down, assisting with the preparation of the budget, not preparing it. The facilities director will be preparing the budget but would need input, obviously, from the rec director. So update the park department webpage, social media accounts, and the independent recreational website. That's left vague, just so in case the social media accounts change or your rec website changes for some reason or other, it's left that it's a generic. Bills versus invoices, we just reference invoices financially. Prepares reports, that's taking out the advertising for seasonal. The HR director does that, does all the advertising. I think that one that's stricken through can be reworded. The rec director has never, to my knowledge, coordinated the agenda. I think that's always been the responsibility of the chair of the park commission. So I think this definitely shouldn't be included in the job description. And originally the intent to remove that works with the park commission, provides reports, was because the reports was identified under a previous bullet. We can rework that sentence, I think. And as I said, let's see, responsible for assisting facilities director in recommending seasonal and programs specific staff, provides daily direction. The seasonal staff do not get employee performance evaluations, so that's removed. And represents the park commission at various community events. I don't think that's really been a function of the position. They've coordinated activities and gone to the trunk or treat, but it's really not a representation of the commission. The commission can do that, themselves by going to functions. And this was just trying to make this more congruent with what a rec director would do for under knowledge, ability, and skills. And just a little reworking of the sentences.
All right, thank you, Heather. Karen, do you have, you said you had comments.
So
Oh, hold on, let me ask Heather something. Heather, I know you sent this over for us to review. What is your goal with us reviewing it? Like, so then we can focus the conversations around that.
Input. The next step for us would be to go to the personnel committee to get this approved, because they're the ones that approve position descriptions under the salary administration plan.
Okay, thank you. All right, sorry, Karen.
That's okay. So in initially looking at this, I'm a bit taken aback, for lack of better word, on what appears to be even less involvement with the commission. You know, this was initially when this job was created, it was to be fully engaged with the commission so that the powers and duties that are given to us, you know, by bylaw, charter, the state, whoever you want to look at it, can be executed. And I worry that we're not going to have that connection to be able to do that. The other thing is that the wording in this last one said works with Parks Commission. So that to me has always been meant that they work with us. They come to our meetings, they enforce our policies. And I just think that if they're not at our meetings, it may seem like it's saving them time, but then it's taking our time and their time when we have to sit down. Somebody from our commission has to sit down and make sure they know of the policies that we just created and how they were created, because Kayla, our first recreation director, like when we were going through that whole porta potty debacle of last summer, she and the dumpster stuff, she was one of the people that really was helpful in that policy making and bringing forth suggestions to us, because we're not the ones on the ground. So I guess I just don't understand who's going to be that person if we don't have that regular interaction with the rec director. And to be clear, I'm not asking to be their supervisor. I don't have any desire to have employees per se under us like that. I just want to make sure that they're staying engaged with us so that we can all be on the same page, because they are, at the end of the day, they are the face of us, whether we want to admit it or not. When you talk to people, they don't realize that recreation director is not part of the Parks Commission. So I just want to make sure that we're still having involvement from that person with our group.
I think that, Paul, feel free to jump in when if you any time, but I think that is still the intent. Like I said, I think that sentence just needs to be reworked, taking out coordinating the agenda, but work with the Park Commission and provide reports. We can leave it at that. I think it's still the intent that the rec director attend meetings to give updates.
Yeah, and again, I'm new, so excuse my lack of institutional knowledge. But I think the goal, and just what I've heard from my brief interaction with everybody in my conversation with Anna the other day, is to make the parks give back to the community as much as they can. And I think that's going to take teamwork and collaboration. And I know we don't know each other, but we will get to know each other. I think that, and I like to say this, before you tell people you can hit the ground running, you got to know the field you're playing on. It's easy to say you're going to hit the ground running. It's very cliche. But my goal is to understand, for lack of no pun intended, like to hit the field running, but I need to understand the parameters in which we're playing in. And whomever comes on board, whether the direction comes, however the direction comes, I think it's important in my mind that the message is clear, concise, and that it's carried out in the appropriate way. And that what you all deem as important is carried out. And how the message is conveyed, I think, is less important, other than the result is what we're looking for, right? So my goal is this is a new position, and I've sort of really been focusing on facility stuff immediately. because that's just been my direct purview. But when I toured the parks and looked at certain things, is that I think with certain things, just like when you pull in different directions and it doesn't come from one voice, is sort of taking all of your input and your institutional knowledge and all the expertise that you have and sort of paring it down and giving whomever this person is a clear direction as to how to make the sausage, right? Like start off doing this, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. Whereas if it comes in, we'll do this, and this is what we did before, and I'm worried about this, and we need to do that, I think it's easy for somebody to get overwhelmed. And my goal is to foster a good working relationship with all of you, with still having the results that we want for the parks and having programs that can be successful because we can execute them properly, while making a very welcoming and engaging environment for the person that comes on board. Because I think the more that we can make that person successful at the beginning and feel, I don't want to say welcoming, because I think everybody is welcoming. It's one of the things that I really got from Heather and Julie when I went through the interview process. I think the better word is at ease, that everything's not just going to be thrown at them. So like your nice suggestion about don't reinvent the wheel, I appreciate that. And I think that if we can get this person on board, all of us, and when I say all of us, I'm talking about the commission and myself, and obviously we'll bring Bill into the fold if we need things done as far as heavy equipment or things where we don't have to outsource a vendor. I'm sure Bill will be happy to help or consult. But I want to be sort of the conduit to what you need, and that I'm never going to tell you no, or back off, or this person works for me. That's not my goal. So I don't want you to think that that was the goal when we have these discussions. In my own personal opinion, I just think that it would be easier that when we explain this job description to somebody, when we bring them in for an interview, when they ask the question, I think anybody worth their salt is going to ask the question, who am I going to be reporting to, and how do I get this information and do it? And when you say, well, you have to go to the board, you have to do this, it's easy just to say, you're going to report to me. I'm going to be there to support you. You're probably going to have to go to board meetings. If you can't go, I'll try to go. If both of us can't go, we'll find a way to, again, get in touch with whomever we need to get in touch with on the board and share information. And I think that that's my goal and my initial big picture in doing that. And even in looking some of the capital planning, I think it's a great asset to have the board to be able to, I don't want to say fight the fight for you, but really kind of help fight the fight to get the money that you need to do these things correctly. So I think it's important not only to make sure that the rec director has good communication, but it's got to be more like of a team than it shouldn't be adversarial at all. In my opinion, it really should just be the information should flow. It should be collaborative. And there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with saying, hey, I don't know. What do you think? Let's come up with better ideas. I mean, not everything's going to be a home run, but we can definitely work towards getting it that way. That's just my initial thoughts, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And I think that I think that we're in a better place supervisory wise than we have been in the past. I think that, the past few months, I think everybody's learned
Put that down.
learned a bit in what needs to happen to make sure that this job is successful, because they can't be, just like you said, they can't be successful if they're getting mixed messages, and there needs to be some proactivity from them as well in order to sort through some of this stuff. So I'm happy to hear that it seems that we're going to have better supervisory oversight of this. It doesn't. So just so you know, Paul, I am the longest standing member of this commission, and that's not even saying it to brag or anything. It's just, this commission is very different than when I started in, I think it was 2016. I don't know anymore. At this point, it could have been 1996. I don't know. But from when I came on to now, it's a very different commission, and we didn't have a rec director. We didn't always have proactive people that we were working with that oversaw that position. And so hopefully this is a breath of fresh air that we're going to be able to start new. In all of this, though, it's really hard for myself, and I think the rest of the commission, to sometimes look past the stuff that's happened in the past. When I tell you we've spent the better part of a year on porta potties, I am not joking. If you had asked me when I came on this commission years ago, if we would be dealing with the porta potty situation that we've been dealing with, it's a reflection of us. And I think when we work hard at what we're doing and we're putting in a lot of time and effort for that, and stuff happens, it's really hard to, I don't want to say give up control, because I don't think it's control that any of us want, but I guess trust that everything's going to sort itself out before another public disaster happens. And, I don't want that again. So I'm just, as I'm reading through this, I just want to make sure that we're setting, not only are we setting that position up for success, we're setting ourselves up for success, and we're setting the supervisor up, whoever, in this case, it's you, for success with this person, because it's not easy to get a part-time rec person in, because they're just not, most people want full-time.
I agree.
We were lucky a few years ago, we had some extremely experienced candidates come through. So, maybe we'll see that again, maybe we won't, but no matter what happens, it's going to need oversight. And as long as they're willing to work with us, and you're willing to work with us to say, here's our policies. Like I sent you just now, I shared a folder that's in our drive of all of our, it's called general parks or something. And it has all the policies that we've created. Like, it would be nice if, that's one of the first things that gets shared, because the first phone call the rec director could get would be, are dogs allowed on our fields? Well, there's a document there. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. And it's a good starting spot to, be familiar with some of that stuff when the new rec director comes in. So yeah, anyway, that's sort of my 2 cents on that.
Thank you, Karen. Chris, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit to iterate what Karen said, just that it's spelled out, that work with the park commission and provide reports related to programming in the town beach, and assist, and lead the execution of park commission policies on parks land. I mean, that's the go-to person to enforce the policies related to, our parks. So just making sure that's spelled out would be something I'd like to see. But I definitely wanted to, Paul, I respect what you're saying for sure. I want it to be a collaborative, a collaborative scenario, and one that's a pleasant experience, and looking forward to establishing hopefully a long-term, a long-term relationship with this person, to run successful programming, principally in the summertime, but throughout the course of the year.
Sure.
Related to the kind of the hours for this position and so forth, I continue to be of the mindset, and I think I've said it before, I don't think seasonal is the right word, but I think there's certain times of the year that this position should be more than 19 hours a week. And there's other times during the year that it doesn't need to be 19 hours a week. I think it's 19 hours is what it's budgeted for, or whatever I think. I leading into the summer and getting the beach off the ground and getting summer programming off the ground, my more limited experience with the park commission, just with 2 rec directors now, has been it doesn't feel like there's enough time during the week to successfully get programming done. In the wintertime, we obviously don't have a lot of programming. Late fall, going through the winter, there's not a lot of programming. Maybe we've talked about doing snowshoe meetups and hot chocolate and whatnot, simple programming, but we're not running camps. We're not running a lot of activity in the wintertime. But spring going into summer, just my 2 cents and what I've experienced is there just doesn't seem to be enough time during the week for this person to actually successfully run a program. It's just been I've seen 2 summers of issues basically, you know, with 2 different rec directors. You know, I'd love to see it if there's a means of tweaking how it's set up, just to make sure that we're, you know, setting this person up to be successful. And if we can find the person, you know, and it needs to be 19 hours a week throughout the whole year, and we can find the person that's going to be able to successfully run programs 19 hours, then that's great. But I just think there's a lot going on at certain times of the year that would be beneficial to have somebody there for, you know, 25, 30 hours. And then, you know, 10 hours at a different time of the year. Like, I don't know. That's just my take. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Pat, do you have any feedback?
Not at this time. I'm on the road, so
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
taking it all in for right now.
All right, appreciate
If I have something, I will, I'll email you on it, but I'm
That's
still
good.
here if we need to
No.
do something, for votes or anything, so.
No, I appreciate you being there, Pat. I know you have you know, you're always busy being a fireman, so thank you for being here.
Yep.
All right, so you know, earlier today, like I alluded earlier, I did put some thoughts onto this, and I did send an email to Heather, but it was late this afternoon. I don't know if she has had the time to read it or not, and I'm going to share those thoughts here. Paul, while I do hear you about, you know, I always say that, you know, you can't have 2 masters, but there are ways of structuring a job. And this is very common in the private sector, where it is spelled out in a job description that, you know, a person's going to work with more than one group. And I think that would be, I think, a healthy thing to do, because hiring someone who's going to, you know, report to you, and if that's the vision that they have coming in, and now you throw them to, hey, by the way, you work with a group of people, that person may, you know, might be a new situation that they may not be up for, or I don't know, I'm not that person. So I actually disagree with you as from that point of view, that I actually
Okay.
think that if you're going to have a position that the job to be performed well, is going to be working with multiple groups, you do want to spell that out. Just as, you know, on the job description, say you're going to be working with a general public. And you want to do that because you don't want a person who comes in and don't really like working with the public, right? And you want to set the expectation that they would be working with the public. The other thing that, you know, and I'm kind of just going through my email to Heather, and I think also setting that up will clearly in the job description, it will be healthy for the relationship, because we'll be able to establish exactly what are the expectations for both parties. So we wouldn't be sitting here as a commission requesting things that are outside what has been spelled out. And for that, I think, you know, it sets that expectation right away. And it would be good for us to say, hey, this is really what we should be expecting going forward. And, you know, and I truly believe that. The other thing that I think it's kind of, you know, the way the charter is written, it says a lot of things with very little details. And there's a copy and paste from the state. But in short, you know, it says, you know, the Parks Commission may lay out and improve public parks. So, you know, like right there, how do you coordinate that improvement of public parks? Anything, you know, you as a facility person, as programming, like if you don't add, how would the commission participate on improving the park, which goes into projects you might be leading? how you're addressing, how we tying the projects that this person is going to be working and our body. And with, I don't want to say that's then a violation of the charter, but it is sort of. The charter also says that we can hire a clerk, which if we look at the functions that this person is doing, very clerical. But I don't want anybody reporting to us. I think it's just too much. So I think creating a job description that addresses how the charter is set up, what the charter was intended to do, and still leave the day-to-day operations to you guys, to Heather and her team, to your part. I think it's how we would set up this position to be successful. The last part of my email was, as regarding taking right now when we hire seasonal staff, they come to us just to rectify that, similar to when Heather hires people to work for the town. All those appointments usually go in front of the select board. Taking that away from the Parks Commission right now, I think it's very unhealthy. Simply because we are the experts in the house. We are the ones with previous experience. And if you take that out, I'm sorry, there is no place for us to help you be successful, to help the next person be successful. So even if it's, rectifying or approving, whatever the language was, it gives us the space to communicate with you, with the town, on, hey, this is running late. Where is this? And that is what happened in the past. I think it was in the first year that I joined, it was still Kayla. And, it was the hiring at that year was later than usual. I think we were doing that in March, when usually we get started. And that was because Karen brought that up. Hey, where are the hires? We need to post that. So taking that check and balance, that the only check and balance that we have to make sure that what we are doing is adequate, is, it goes with what we have done in the past, I think is simply unwise right now. It's not like right now we can come to us and say, hey, we're doing a great job. We don't even need you right now. I would agree, but right now we do not have a track record to say, I think less involvement with people with a history is helpful. So that's my 2 cents. I don't know if you guys want to comment on. I did make some edits, and I'll be happy to share if you all are interested. And I think the rest of the commissioners have not seen my suggestions because I can't share that. I would like to share now during the meeting. But if Heather or Paul have anything they would like to say to what I said and what Chris said.
I know Paul has a hard stop
Okay.
at
Yeah.
8, right, Paul?
Yeah.
Family.
So I'm wondering if this is
I have,
something. Go
I
ahead,
have
Paul,
some
sorry.
I have childcare, some babysitting childcare issues for this evening, so
Okay.
I do have a stop, but I don't really have anything to add at this point. I think I've said that all I can say about the hiring process. The last thing I'll just say, I think that once we get somebody on board, we can probably make an analysis better to Chris's point of when their time can be most useful. It's kind of hard for me to speak to that articulately when I don't have any background and we don't know what the capabilities of the person is. And I think having some more support for that person might allow for more time during the busy season. That's just my initial impression, but I am committed to working with all of you, and this is Parks and Recreation, so it should be fun. So I'm going to do my best to try to make it fun. And I'll probably be at the parks going, throughout the weeks. If any want to take a walk around with me, I'm out quite a bit looking at some of the bigger projects going on and looking some of the things, even things that have been bid before I've come to the town, just to kind of take a look at the process and see if there's anything that might have been missed or we can improve upon before it goes out to bid again and we start work. Just drop me a line. I'll try to make myself available to walk around with you or make some time to meet with you. And then I'm sure I'll be at next month's meeting.
Great, Paul, and I'd be happy to walk around, especially Marshall Park with you. If you want to let me know when you're going to be down there with a reply to one of my emails, I'm happy to meet you down there. I may have a kid or two in tow, but
Oh, forget it then.
they're usually cute and very well behaved. I'm
If you
happy to
buy me a
walk.
coffee, we'll go. No, just-
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll shoot you an email, and then we can
Great.
try to link up over the next week or so
Okay.
and get down there and just take a walk around and the beach house. I mean, anything you guys want to look at.
Oh, I'll
let me
take
know.
you into the beach house any day of the week. I'll show
Oh,
you.
I've been all
the
over
wall
the beach.
shake.
I've been all over. I've been up and under, almost on the roof. I've been all over the beach house. So
Good. I think I've met my match because people will yell at me, get off of that roof. I don't climb onto the roof, but tend to climb on tables to like poke at things. And they're like, please get down. So but thank you so
Well,
very much.
yeah. So again, I'm committed to working with you guys, and then I'll leave however this shakes out with the hiring up to the boss. And obviously I'll follow her lead with that. I mean, either way, we're going to work with you. It's a collaborative effort. It's not an isolation. It's, it's zone defense, not one-on-one. So we gotta work together to get what we want. And then I know capital planning is coming up too, so we should probably start thinking about that for the next coming. I like to have a couple plans in mind, not just for this year, but for the following year, and do some phase things. But that's kind of big picture stuff, and we can get into it further. But thanks for letting me be part of the meeting. I appreciate it. It's nice kind of meeting you all, not face to face, but sort of face to face. And I'm sure we'll be in touch. Anna, I'll be in touch at some point. Have a good afternoon, evening.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody.
Bye, Paul.
Bye, boss.
Right. Anna, did you want to?
Yeah, I mean, do you have any comments, or do you want me to go to bring? up
I did
what
have
I've read?
time to review what you sent.
Okay,
Let me just try to open it up on my end.
I can share, because like I said, I haven't shared
Okay.
with
Yeah,
other
I'm gonna do
commissioners.
that. That'll be easier.
Okay, that's what's following open meeting law. So, my formatting is a little different because I had to copy and paste what there was from what Heather did. So I think from the PDF, one thing that it's the we make the rules of use. It's not just a policy the way the chart is written. We actually make rules of use and governance, which is the policy and procedures according to the charter. So how do you do that without being responsible for the person day to day? So my suggestion was to change the very first paragraph, which it just had works under the policy direction of Parks Commission, to add procedural directions to that, works under the policy and procedural directions of the Parks Commission and operational direction of the facilities, because I think that sets apart the operation of the day-to-day and the procedures and policies of park. So that was how I start setting that up. The second piece that I change, everything that I change is what's written red. I wanted to call out that following Parks Commission policies and procedures, developed and organized and publicized and supervised commission recreation. Again, just setting up that person to understand that is the relationship that the Parks Commission will have with that person's day-to-day job. It doesn't mean they're following us, it's just they're following the policies and procedures when they do these things. And, trying to tie the, the charter to this person's job. I did break this up. This was this part here was part of the previous. I just felt like that maybe should be a separate. Evaluates recreation programs, establish, implements that identify and addresses community interest. Oh, actually, I think I might have added some of this here, because I felt like we needed to tie what this person does to their customer, which is the community. And this is the part that was part of that paragraph that I broke it up. In conjunction with Parks Commission and Facilities Direct, performs long-range plans related to recreational enrichment programs, equipment, and operations. I know the operations now, we touch it with parks, and maybe that can be taken out of that. But I think just as we were talking, you know, we are responsible for the parks and the long-range plans for it. And I'm not saying we are doing, I'm saying in conjunction with Parks Commission. And that can be an email back and forth. It can be something simple, but it is setting up the expectation that there will be some interaction with the Parks Commission when there's a long-term plan, long-range planning. I did add provides customer service assistance because it just had answers questions to general public and participants, requests and concern. You know, this person will be assisting our residents. So it's not just answering questions kind of like with a, you know, an arm's length. It's really, we got to provide assistance to a resident. And I think that's an important concept to have, that we are here to serve our residents. So I thought it was important to call that out. And then I added a couple things that were, I did read a lot of different job descriptions, and these are the towns that I pulled this from, just as a reference. And this one is important, I think, because this is the person that's on the ground, that they will be making recommendations regarding policies and procedures to the Parks Commission. Since we are not the person, the body designated to talk with our residents, the person who's listening to our residents should also have a place for them to come to tell us what they think it should be done. Otherwise, you know, there's no way, there's not a spelled out a way of how we will be hearing from them. So it creates an expectation they will be telling us what it should be done, and it creates an opportunity for us to also ask. Conduct site visits to observe, monitor recreation program and recreation facilities. I think that's setting up an expectation that even if the person is not running the program, that they are still responsible for just overseeing that things are going as it should. Applies for grants and administer grants delivered. There are a lot of grants out there available for recreation programs. I think putting this out there doesn't mean it has to, but it is an opportunity for us to do it. And I did list attends Parks Commission monthly meetings to provide financial in progress reports on all programs, general parks operations, updates the ongoing facility projects and construction. Again, setting up the expectation, what will be their role when they come to our meetings? I think that will be very healthy and helpful for the new person and for us. And the last one, ensures parks policies and procedures are followed and adhered to by user groups and general public. Setting up expectation that that's their responsibility. And the next bullet, I actually found it on the conservation committee, conservation assistant, which I thought it was a great bullet point, which is develop a volunteer and friend group to assist with recreation community programs, which we did. We had a successful one last year. We did the spring cleanup. So I thought, you know, this would be a good thing to throw there. So Heather, this is my feedback. I do think we gotta find a way to, I stand very strong on the fact that I do believe we gotta spell out how this person will be interacting with us and creating that expectation. Because by doing that, you're also telling us that we'll have that opportunity and we don't have to be nervous about it. We know we'll have that space. And the last thing is, I do think that we have to, you know, I do think that it is important for us to give the feedback on the hirings, because it does give us the space to give that feedback. We don't have enough experience with from the town employee side to say we can take this with no feedback. And I think that's just unwise to do. So any comments on my long list from anyone, including Heather?
you want me to start or?
Sure, go
Uh,
for it.
Okay. Can you scroll back up, please?
Sure.
And thank
Tell
you
me
for
when to stop.
taking the time to go through this.
Okay.
Okay. I don't see that as a problem of including policy and procedural directions. My only is procedural, as long as it doesn't impinge on day-to-day operations.
Right.
As that would be my only comment on that. So, but I don't see a problem with that language. Same with that sentence,
Okay.
and the evaluates recreation programs and services. That seems standard to me as well. I would include, you had inserted in conjunction with Parks Commission performance long range. I would just insert the and facilities director, because the facilities director.
Yeah, I said and facilities director.
Yeah, I think actually I put that in because today I started.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, yeah, and I think your shared document shows my, because
Oh, okay.
you cut and paste from a PDF, right? So
Yeah,
some of
yeah.
the deleted stuff still shows up, but
Yeah.
so the blue I think is me, but
Perfect.
that's there. But I didn't catch all of the deleted stuff. I just caught what
Right.
provides customer service and assistance. I have no issue with that. That's just a further explanation. That's so you're the red comments. So the down below, I think like we already talked about, works with Park Commission. I would remove coordinates the agenda meetings, but works with Park Commission and provides reports. Keep that status quo the same. I think what you put below is just more as far as attending monthly meetings. It already says under the job environment attends evening meetings as needed.
So maybe this can be worded to when attending meetings, that this is the expectation, because I think I think it's difficult for the person to come to these meetings and say, what am I supposed to do there? I think this gives an outline of what will be expected for both parties. So maybe it can be just changed when attending meetings, it will be to provide these reports.
Yeah, and as far as that last part of the sentence, though, I would leave that to the facilities director to give those facility updates on facility project and construction, which I think you already have on, the document that you already referenced tonight. And Paul is committed to coming to your meetings to update you as well on any of those projects. The thing I do have concern with is adding on additional responsibilities at this point. So however minute it may seem, we need to get this position to be successful. And I think adding any further responsibilities than what we've already defined really limits that person. So I think it's something that we can look at, and we do have the opportunity, it's a catch-all phrase in a lot of our position descriptions is perform similar related work as required, directed, or situation dictates. It covers, special situations that may not be spelled out in a job description, but are normal things that position would do. But if you're talking about applying for grants and administering grants, there's sometimes having myself been involved with different grants, it can be very time consuming as far as reporting and getting reimbursement requests and reports to the state or the submission. So I would hate to put an additional responsibility onto this position when we really need to get this up and running and successful.
Okay, that's fair. So with that, are you specifically talking about just the grants or was that anything else?
Um,
Oh, of course.
Just you. Well, if I knew it was that easy to like get rid of Anna's stuff, I mean, I'd have you hit delete all the time.
So are you talking about I hear you about the additional, I hear you, I agree with you.
I think you're, the make recommendations regarding policy and procedure, I don't see a problem with that. That's gonna be occasional, like as things come up, you're gonna
Right.
ask that are specific to the rec director, programming, that type, whatever
Right,
the purview is, that affects programming. So I don't see that as a big add-on or responsibility, but
okay,
probably the next two, and the last bullet, I think, we talked about the monthly meeting, so that we can just reword that previous bullet point about monthly
okay,
meetings. The policy and procedures, I think you have enough reference to it in the added,
okay,
following the Parks Commission policy and procedural rules. I think that's already referenced a couple times.
okay,
So it'd be
redundant,
covered, yeah.
okay. Okay, and how about now that you have my 2 cents, my opinion, about the hiring and us, doing what we've been doing so far with the seasonal staff.
Can I throw in because I was actually going to comment on that before.
Sure.
Can I just ask a couple of questions before you answer that, Heather? You had said that there was no reviews of seasonal staff. So this year there actually was, and there actually was or there was supposed to be. I know that the rec director met with everybody. If there's no reviews, like end of season check-in reviews or whatever of staff, how is somebody supposed to know whether they should be brought back for the next year?
It's just based on overall, if there were any issues that would have came up at the end of the season. So.
Here's my, and I have a feeling I've said this to you before. So this dialogue's been great. I appreciate getting information from both sides. When it comes to hiring somebody though, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. So there's a recreation position can be very specific. And there were issues that came up with our previous rec directors that I'm not sure anybody would have known to ask. And I'll give you one example. We have a setup on my rec. If you don't have an understanding of the way financials and credit card processing works, you're going to miss stuff. So the Parks revolving fund took a hit this past summer, not by much, but we took a hit because there was no additional fees added to the programming so that to cover credit card processing. I guess I'm concerned as we bring in people, whether it be for a recreation director position, or even for beach staff, that we're expected to create policy for all of these, for the beach, policy that our recreation director is supposed to enforce, who really would be the only one bringing in money to our revolving account, that we could end up in a situation where what we need as a Parks Commission isn't being met by this person. So how do we avoid that? If we are not going to be involved in the process, how do we ensure that this kind of stuff is met so that we are fully comfortable with the fact that this person is the person that's going to be filling our bank account, for lack of a better word, by the programming, the making sure, user fees get charged. And like, that's my concern when we're not involved with any of the hiring. I don't know what the right answer is, because we've had two different experiences. The first time around, the DPW director interviewed and then brought us 3 candidates. And we sat with the DPW director and we talked with them and asked questions, and they gave a presentation to us. And then we worked with the DPW director and made some decisions, and then he brought that back to you. And then this last time.
Actually, I was at that meeting.
Oh, were you at that meeting too? Okay, perfect. And then this last time we didn't have that. So I don't know what the best answer is. I just want to make sure that the person that we're bringing in is going to be able to, you know, do the work that the commission needs in order to be successful. How do we ensure that if we're not involved in the process?
I think it has to fall back to the chain of commands as far as this person reports to the facilities director. If there's a concern that certain job responsibilities are not being done, there needs to be that communication to their supervisor.
I want to make sure we're hiring somebody that's capable of doing some of the basic stuff. Like that's, I know, like I get that. And I think that we're going to see some changes come down the pipeline from you working with.
I have a suggestion for that, Karen and Heather, if
Yeah.
I may. You know, one thing we can do, Karen, is because, you know, I've been into companies where, you know, everybody wants to interview the new person coming in because they will have an interaction with different departments and so forth. But at the end of the day, you can't bring in a new person and be interviewed by, you know, 50 different people. What we have done in the past is, you know, people will put together their list of questions or concerns and pass it on to it's usually 1 or 2 people they're interviewing, and sometimes they have maybe a group interview, but you never have someone interviewing with more than 3 people, because the person that most people go, I do not want the job. But if Heather's up for, we can, one way to address this concern, Karen, is to, you know, put some of the information that we have, some of the concerns that we have, and send it to Heather, and her and Paul can look it over. And if they have questions, they reach out, and they can probably incorporate that in the, you know, in their interview process. I don't know if Heather would be up for that, and I don't know if that would address, but I know that's something it's done, usually done in private sector.
Yeah. It will probably be Julie and Paul that do the interview ultimately, but I know they'd be open to that. So we can incorporate you're talking about experience and skills as far as.
Right. Like to be able to say, you know, like somebody, I mean, rightfully so. You bring somebody in for an interview, they're gonna try to sell themselves to
Like anyone in a job interview.
Right, you know, right. So they're trying to sell themselves. And sometimes I think there's a lot of upselling going on, and doesn't mean that they're not worthy of that upselling, but they may not have, that upselling may not meet the same requirements that, you know, the commission could be looking for. You might have run recreational programming for a private organization that didn't need any funding. You didn't have to do anything because it was internal, and that's where you ran your programming, which is very different from running a public rec program. So I mean, I would be, again, I don't want this person to work for us. It's not, and I don't want to waste any more time than we have to in our, you know, our everyday life. I would be comfortable if, you know, Julie and Paul would be willing to entertain, you know, a question or 2 that could be thrown into the fray of questions that they ask. You know, I would, if it was me, I might say something like, you know, here's a potential question, and here's what, as a Parks Commissioner, we would be looking for, you know, this is the information, their answers that we would be looking for.
If you want to put something together,
Okay.
collectively or individually.
Can we
They
do it
have to be
collectively?
individually.
Yeah,
Well, it may have to
Well,
be
you probably have to do it at another meeting.
Yeah.
To get it
Yeah.
collectively.
Okay, we'll do that if that works. I think that addresses Karen's concern, and
Does,
Heather,
it
thank you
does.
for
And the
being
same thing-
open to that.
Yeah, just, and I know, Bill, we're probably boring you because you don't even have to stay on, Bill. I feel bad that you're still sitting
But
there.
I like Bill.
I do like Bill too. So, the same thing around the lifeguard situation too, and we can have that discussion as it goes forward. That position I take a little stronger of a stance on though, because that's our life-saving group of people. And when you are employing somebody that's on our beach and expecting them to save somebody's life, I just know that if something happens on the beach, that the first stop is going to be the Parks Commission. I mean, you guys, of course, but some of the blame game is going to have to start with us. And it would just be really nice to know, at least on the Parks Commission side, that we have, everybody is in support of the lifeguards that we have out there. And if being able to throw some questions out to whoever interviews them so they can include those, if that's just one of the ways that we can feel satisfied that we're putting people out there that are, that we are comfortable with and don't feel there's a liability. We've been extremely fortunate over the last 6 years, for at least for me. I've known every single one of those lifeguards that have been out on the beach outside of work. It's just small town living. But that's going to come to an end at some point. So
I was happy to hear tonight that they're all coming back because
yeah, I think so. And I think and we'll have the conversation with Paul at some point. And I know Jared's on the
All right, my agenda item's 20.
I know, but I'll say this before I sign off. Yes, I do expect them all to come back. We will, as of next year, have no high school students. They're all going to be college, which puts their schedules at a totally different ballgame of when they have to be done for the summer. So I will remember to bring that topic up to Paul because, at some point we have to make sure we have enough staff to be open. So anyway.
I don't have a problem keeping that. It was essentially a list of applicants was brought to the commission at a meeting. You made a recommendation at that meeting, and then that process is not a problem.
Okay. Do we need to decide on something on this? Now we have
the sooner the better. After talking.
Okay. So, I mean, it sounds, my biggest recommendations, you were agreeable to to the recommendations that I typed, and I understood where you're talking about expanding responsibilities. I don't know how, I mean, I would love to see this before it goes out one more time, since there's still some edits. To see what the final copy, but it's up to the commission. You want a feedback. I guess you did get our feedback, right?
Yep, and I think I addressed
right. Yeah.
questions
Okay.
and concerns, hopefully.
Yeah, I think you did.
So do you want a motion to approve with the I don't even know if you're looking for an approval, Heather, right? You're just looking for feedback.
We can't quite do a motion because we don't have a final document. This is a really rough draft, and she's going to reward. I don't know if she wanted our feedback. We gave her. She doesn't need a motion. If she needed a motion, we could try to figure out something. But I appreciate you bring this in.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you. Anybody else?
Do you need me for anything else tonight?
No, you're probably gonna get a long email from me after this meeting because we're gonna talk about less stuff. Thank you, Heather, very much.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Bill, so very much for your help the last few months too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Bill, you
like
rock.
You've got a weight lifted off your shoulders now.
Great. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. I'm going to sign off also.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Well, I'm gonna stop.
To
sharing my
adjourn at
screen.
8. Oh, wait, just kidding.
Well,
Why did you?
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, so let's see if we can. Let's start from the top now. Approve the minutes.
I need to
Did
get
we-
them open, because I know that there's at least one change. Anna, can we start with the one that you had pinged me earlier and said there may be a change to the minutes? Do you remember what that date was?
It was, I'll have to look at the folder. I believe it was the July. Let's see. Or August. It was the August.
Okay, thank you.
And yep.
All
It
right.
was on page, it tells me.
All right, so the minutes that I have up in front of me are from August 17th. Pat or Chris, do either of you have any changes to these minutes? Because I know Anna does.
No, I do not.
I
Thanks,
didn't
Pat.
notice anything.
Okay, Anna caught one, and it was a comment from that Dave had made. Passios noted the park commission does not have care and custody of McNally Park. It's supposed to be care and custody of Fitzgerald
Fitzgerald.
Oh, yeah.
Field. Yeah. All right,
Okay, all right. So do you want to make a motion?
I will make a motion to accept the minutes of August 17th, 2022.
Have a second?
So move, or second. rather,
All
excuse me.
right,
Or you were
um,
seconding? Did you second? I don't know.
No, do I have a second?
Oh,
Can I
second,
second
yes.
things? I
You
think I
can do whatever
right?
you want.
Oh, okay. I'll tell my mom that. All right, all right. Roll call, Karen,
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Pat?
I,
And I for myself. Okay, next. We have the minutes for our July 20th meeting, and I did not have any revision. Did anyone have any revisions? No? Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Is August 2nd, can we vote on August 2nd as at the same time with the select board? Is there any edits to that?
Didn't we
Oh,
already?
yeah,
Okay.
I
Did we have
did read
3
that
sets
one.
of minutes?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, so how about this? Can I get a motion for the approval of the minutes of July 20th and August 2nd?
So move.
All right.
Second.
All right, Karen, all in
I
favor, Karen?
second. Yep, I second.
Okay, Chris? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, Pat?
I,
All right, and I for myself. All right. Okay, so we're all
That's
set.
it. All of our minutes are done.
Okay.
Huzzah.
All right.
And- oh,
And I'm sending them over as we approve them because I can.
okay. All right, I'm gonna share my screen again, and I'm going to make a the chair update. There are a lot of things happening, so the first thing is I do wanna the email that I sent after I had my meeting with Heather, I do wanna talk about those topics in public meeting because so that so the public is aware of these updates. And that was my intention, but I wanted to send that information to the board before our meeting because there were a lot of things. As regards to capital planning project, the Northfield property survey already exists. I actually met with Brandon Keeby. He's from, he used to be the chair for the open space committee. And during the purchase of that property, there was a survey done for the boundaries of the property. Now, I asked him at that point if there are, because apparently there are different types of survey that can be done. And he said that the survey is detailed enough that we wouldn't need the new one until engineering start. And when engineering start for whatever construction we have, it'll probably be easier to, more economical to then hire specific surveys for engineering at that point. Like sometimes that is, I think the one that he mentioned was kind of current condition survey. So he said sometimes that they have that type of survey for large construction projects with large properties, but he doesn't see us needing anything else. So therefore, we don't need a capital plan project for that. The McNally survey and conceptual design, she doesn't understand the need to go through the process, especially since we are considering moving the T-ball there, and we will need to build a new snack shack and possibly install bathroom facilities. She was waiting to receive the asbestos report, and they received it just last week. I'm going to meet with Paul hopefully soon, and we're going to talk about how we're going to create this this capital request. Paul has a lot of information. I think it's great that I was imagining we would be needing to do a lot of legwork, but he actually, I think, is going to be a great resource for that. So I'm seeing that the McNally will survey, conceptual design, and probably demolition of that snack shack will be a capital item. The other topic, the town beach funds, she said those were set aside from last year, and they can be set aside even if it's a new fiscal year if they're going to be properly used. She was waiting to meet with Paul about it, and they are looking to likely issue a new IBF, I think it's called IBF, right? Is that IBF? Yeah, with a different scope. Paul, with his experience, has ideas of how to get the project done, just through reinforcement and so forth, and just use the money that was set aside. So that is likely what's going to happen. But I will be meeting with him, so just keep track of that. And again, whenever I meet with someone that there is some update, I'll just send an email out. The Marshall Park survey, I didn't get an update, but she was going to publish that. The Marshall Park engineering, she did say for us to pursue everything, and we have a plan for that. We are going to request later on. We're going to talk today about ARPA funds, capital plan, and special town meeting warrant, which I did create a draft for. And she said it should be between 8 to 10% of the estimated costs. One thing that well, it'd be the ARPA funds, never mind. The last thing in that conversation was the Marshall Park septic tank and bathroom facilities. I thought this was great news. She did say to, she suggested us to submit a separate ARPA fund request for this item, so so this can be like literally phase 0, and we can start getting used right away of that. So the plan would be engineering one, and immediately septic tank and the bathroom facilities using the Board of Health funds. I do believe she's been in touch with George from the Board of Health, and he seems to be on board with that plan, because the timeline is also, this could be something that as soon as engineering done, we could be breaking ground, because she is looking to fund the bathroom facilities, possibly with ARPA funds or with the other suggested, they've also suggested another type of funding. But yeah, so that was the update, and I wanted to share with everybody on the public meeting so that the public also has that. And okay, next item on the agenda. Any comments? Because you guys had this information already. No, okay. Thank you. And just as a matter of practice, whenever I have any meetings with town officials, because I know chair, I usually sought for some opinion or participate in some different things. Whenever I have a meeting like that, I'll be happy to send updates and then just read, that email or the update during the meetings for the public to be aware of what's going on. So the next item on the agenda is recognition of Jen Nass for 30+ years of service. So Jen Nass was our beach director until this year. This was the first year in over 30 years that she was not the beach director. Usually the select board is the body that usually does these recognitions. But I suggested, I talked with Michael Ray Jeffries, since she worked for Parks and she carried on, the beach she told me she started working there every summer in 1987. And before that, while she was in college, she worked there, but it wasn't every summer, but she was there since 1987 for every year. She raised her kids pretty much there, and now her grandchildren are also lifeguards. So I wanted to get a recommendation from the board that we would like to recognize her for her service to the parks and recreation. And when I talked with Michael Ray Jeffers, he asked if I could put a quick write-up about it. I said I didn't have a problem with doing that. So I can take on doing that extra job, or if anyone would like to take it also.
So I'm wondering if we could, I think, thank you in one of our more public forums, which would be a select board meeting, would be a good idea. And I'm wondering if we should just, they probably would just let us do it during their open comment period too, or we can just ask them for 5 minutes on the front of their agenda. And then if anybody from the commission is available to attend, because there's no deliberation, it wouldn't have to be a posted meeting. So whoever was available could go that night and
Okay.
with that. So I do have a request, if that's the route we decide to go, I'd like to be present for it.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if we can avoid most of the month of October.
Okay, I think that's fine. Yeah, I would love that. And since you're the one who's been here the longest, I think that's wonderful. And so I think it'd be great if we could make a motion for this as a commission to recognize. And go ahead.
I will make a motion to recommend reaching out to the select board to honor Jen Nass as a 30-year employee of the town beach, and to thank her in a public venue, a public meeting of theirs.
Second.
Okay. All right, all in favor, Pat?
Aye.
All right, Karen?
Aye.
Okay, Chris?
Aye.
All right, and I for myself.
Do you want to
and
arrange that, Anna?
Yeah, I'll arrange that. Since you have the time constraints, do you want to arrange so we're not playing telephone?
It doesn't matter, because I will tell you what the
It's up to you. Now the question is, who I did touch base with Michael Ray Jeffers. He said he would put on the agenda and we could do a joint meeting. And he understood that would be why we wanted to come from both boards. But he did ask us to do a quick write-up. Does anyone would like to do the write-up? If not, I'm
well,
happy
I think
to
you
do
got
it.
most of you're probably the best one to do it at this point, just because I think you've talked to her recently and got some information from her.
I did. I didn't tell her what it was for.
That's fine. That's fine. And I think once we have a date on this too, we can we can circulate it amongst our lifeguarding crew for anybody that wants to be present as well.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. All right, this is awesome. I mean, it's really, I cannot say enough how, having an employee who's dedicated for that long, it really it's what has helped the success. So I appreciate the board supporting that. So the next item on the agenda is list of requirements from community for engineering phase. So here's what I was thinking. And this is an item that I don't think will be taken care of today, but I would like to maybe we create a plan for it. So when we did the master plan, we had engaged the community about what they would like to see on Marshall Park, and that data was very valuable for WOLA when they worked. When engineering starts, you know, if they have a list of requirements from us and the town and residents, that would also help facilitate their work, and will make sure that the needs of the users also are met. So for example, storage by the dugouts, locked storage by dugouts is an important thing. Or let's say, the track to be wheelchair accessible, or the surface for the playground to also be wheelchair accessible. So that kind of requirement, if we just create a list and have it when the engineering phase starts, it will be, we'll probably still have community meetings, but it will be a good jump start. And I think, Chris, you created that survey, right?
Yeah,
Well-
I mean, are we looking to hit the user groups with, because I know the Phillies are the ones that kind of mentioned to me, like the infield turf mix or whatever for the baseball field, and the storage
Right.
facility to the side of the dugout, and things like, so I mean, are we talking about just kind of hitting the user groups with particular requests, like not necessarily sure requirements is the
Well,
right word, make more requests?
Request.
'Cause-
Well, I mean, I think those things are usually called requirements, but it can be requests, and we can
Understood,
filter.
yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, I was thinking of user groups and also the general population.
So I'm gonna volunteer somebody. I don't know how we want to deal with the playground piece, but I would like to have Emily Young be involved with our the playground over there. And I'm not sure the best way. I mean, we can go to her and ask for feedback. She actually sent me a ton of links a year or two ago on what it means to be an inclusive, not just accessible playground. But there's so many, she could be here till the end of the year with stuff.
So
So I'm
what
wondering,
I-
maybe, yep, go ahead.
What I had thought is maybe create a similar survey to what Chris had created for master plan, and maybe for the different places, or for the park, it's just kind of an open-ended question. And so let's say baseball, just like 5 lines, and people can type whatever they want. Playground, and we can send it to people, and then the data will be there. It'll be all open. It'll be open answers, so we may get different things, but also, and I don't know if we don't know what the requirements are, I think it needs to be open answer.
Sorry, my stalker just came in.
That's okay.
I agree.
So just a simple kind of each area of the park, and just a paragraph kind of deal for people to be able to
Yeah.
put down what they
Yeah. 5
know,
different lines, and
what they hope to see in
Yeah.
those particular areas.
simple
When
as
we-
that, but it will be helpful. And then, if Emily Young wants to submit, she can
Okay.
also send us an email. But start compiling that data now. It will be helpful when we get to the engineering phase.
Okay.
Chris, are you volunteering to do that form again?
I can
You-
do a form.
That was
Okay.
the consolation prize to losing in cribbage, is that he's gonna create a form.
Okay. So Chris, if you create
Never
the
gonna let that
form,
go. One game. For crying out
That's all,
loud.
and I'm never playing you
I
again.
know,
So
right? Seriously, and I waited. I noticed you waited until the recording started to say
Yeah.
that you beat me.
So Chris, if you create that, then, and if you want to send to some user groups and send it to the commission, we can,
Yeah, if you
pass
guys
it
take a look at
along.
it first.
Okay.
I'll tackle that in the next week here, and then I can
Well,
send it
perfect.
to just to take a
Awesome.
look at. How long do we want to
Alright.
leave it open? Like, how long is it open for? Like, occasionally I still get a notification that someone filled out like a Marshall Park survey.
Oh. Well, I think we can start asking it questions now, and I think we can leave it open for the near future. I don't think we need to put a deadline right now.
That's fine. The Marshall survey
Okay.
is still open. I mean, people can still fill it out. It still
and
exists.
hopefully Anna will be better than your last chair who had to ask you 1,000,001 times for the link to see the survey results.
Because you had 3 different emails.
Well, I only have one, but yeah, that's what I think was the problem. You're right.
All right, so I was approached by Dan Lincoln.
Mhm.
He is, okay, sorry, so we know we're moving on to the next item on the agenda.
I live in his mother-in-law's house.
Yes, you do.
I do.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's it. So he is looking to, let me see if I can open this. He's looking to replace the current, the current McNally sign. And I had a question for him, which is, this is the sketch and I'm going to turn it around. So the current design actually now says Brian McNally. And I had a question for him if he had consulted with the family about just changing to McNally Park. So this is his proposal. Oh, this is lovely. Move on. He said that the family is aware and they appreciate and they don't have a problem changing signage from Brian J. McNally Park, just McNally Park, as it is on the sketch. My question for the board is, I actually don't know what is the official name of the park.
McNally Park.
Is it? It's not Brian J. McNally?
Not that I'm not that I'm aware. It's
Where
just
would that be
McNally.
recorded?
We probably have nothing on it being recorded because I can't find any old minutes. I would assume it would have been recorded when the town accepted the park.
Okay.
And everything that I've ever seen says McNally Park. And the reason why I think that's the name is if you think open space wise, when they talk about Fitzgerald Field, you'll notice that it's actually on like all the open space documents, Ben Normand Park, not Fitzgerald Field.
Okay.
And every time I've seen McNally Park, it's been just as McNally Park.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so the family is on board with the change in sign. They don't mind that it just say McNally. Do I have any feedback from the commission? And I think this being a gift, we have to officially accept it and then send that information to the select board.
So is it in?
No, he's looking to install around Thanksgiving.
So I think it needs to be a two-step process. I think we need to give the support of the sign, but I'm not sure we can accept it until it's actually until it's actually on property, because right now there's nothing to accept because it's not there. Right?
Initially, his email too said they wanted to hopefully get it done before Halloween.
Okay. Okay,
But
so
I don't know the right or the wrong way. That's just my 2
Okay.
cents.
all right, so we support this and that we can take a vote afterwards.
Yeah.
With the name, change the name, I wasn't sure.
So I actually would do it as a motion. So I would like to make a motion granting permission to Dan Lincoln and the volunteer group of McNally Park to replace the signage at the park. And we will accept it as an official gift after it's installed. And then this isn't part of my motion, but then it will then go to, it'll then have to go over to the select board for we'll make the recommendation for approval and then they will approve it at a select board meeting.
Okay, I will second that. Let's have a vote. Chris?
Just one point, like one question. for, dates, are we, will there be a date on the sign? Like, it'd be nice to have some sort of historical, and there isn't on the old sign, the current sign,
Mhm.
but, you know, when it was established, or, I mean, just for historical reference and so forth, you know, when was it established, or is there, yeah, you know,
I'm
year it
actually
was-
wondering if,
year it
this
was
was in-
stamped McNally Park, or, you know, what have you. That's all.
this was in my head.
I'm in favor of taking the sign for sure, like.
Yeah, no, and this was actually in my head too. It would be nice if we could ask them, or even one of us take on at some point after the sign's replaced, to maybe we can do something like in like a little framed box or something that's on the post, or on, you know, when we get the new building there, something that says who this park is named after, you know, it, to have that history of it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
sort of, I don't know. I just see the sign. I'd love to see the sign say McNally Park established, you know, 19, whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, well, I don't think we can ask for gifts to be specific.
It's
Um,
not asked, I guess suggest, like
Suggest, okay,
you know, have you
okay.
given any thought to to putting an establishment, you know, established date on the, I don't know.
Okay, I can do that. That's a good,
I don't know,
That's a
just
good
as you
way
go
to
around
put it.
town, like to see, yeah, you know, this
Yeah,
park was
make-
established in, you know, 1986. This park was established in 2004, you know, whatever, you know.
Mhm.
It gives people that attend the park historical reference a little bit to,
right.
you know, and it'd be great if they, if the, you know, knowing the history, if they know the history and how it came to be, if they, as Karen was indicating, like, you know, can we get a you know,
Yeah.
through
I
the
think
park
that-
commission, can we do a weatherproof box over there, some sort of plaque or something that would, you know, give a
Yeah,
little more history to the, you know, why it's there, and what the name stands for.
I think this
Yeah.
year is the 30th anniversary too.
What did you say?
I think this year is the 30th anniversary of that park,
Oh, wow.
something around there.
Yeah, you know, and now, like, it was great to see how Bill has updated the spreadsheet, and I think we are creating ways of communicating with the town about some of those requests. I can easily see us being able to communicate that request, Chris, that, you know, if we
Cool.
put that information together, the historical reference. Yeah, I'll give then Lincoln that you know, that idea about adding the date that was established on, and
I'm
I'll
an eye either way, but
Yeah.
just, you know, it'd
No,
be great to
okay.
have a date on the sign.
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll add to my list of things. I have a running list of things that we discuss to discuss it at a later time. I'll add a historical plaque, in McNally, and we'll take action on it at a different time, but it will be on the list. All right. So since Karen made the motion, we still need to vote on it. Chris,
I'm an eye.
you're aye. Okay, Pat,
I'm here. Aye.
thank you. And an aye for myself, Karen.
And I,
Okay, and with that, we have motions passed. Okay. All right. The next item on the agenda is Psych Visits. Chris and I did the Veterans Park. And I did I did a document with the pictures and our comments, Chris. It was a pain to get to organize the photos and with the notes. But I did the best that I could. And I organized it somewhat by location, because I mean, we spent what, it was close to an hour almost there, right? So,
Yeah, we were there for a good hour.
yeah.
It didn't feel like we were there that long, and then I got in the car to go back to work.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
So I don't know if the commission wants to go over, but in short, the east side boundary, there's a lot of weed. That section was clearly landscaped before because there's mulch on the ground, and because that wasn't always kept, there's a lot of brush and vegetation growing. So that needs to be cleared out, maybe new mulch put down. The pavers, some are being moved to the side just because they don't have a good border. Like it's just dirt and there is a little bit of a slope. So there's creating some space in between. And they probably need to get washed. It looks used, but it's really just dirt in between the pavers. And after that, so this out still on the east side, because it's the biggest part. There's brush. Then we have, there's a memorial area that just needs to be a little bit realigned. You can see a rock here. The most unfortunate part that I felt was most of the memorials, they have mostly sunk towards the ground, and they really need to be raised and groomed around it, because like you can see this one, it's already starting to be covered by vegetation. And yeah, it's really like if we don't.
So Anna, I wonder if, and this is going to be my concern on the bricks too. So I just want to make sure that the cleaning of the bricks, I don't know if, I don't know the best way to clean it, and I'm not sure it's power washing, because it could just erase, you know what I mean? Like it could just erode or erase the engraving that's there. But some of these memorials look like they're very similar to the cemetery stone type material. So maybe if the recommendation is going to end up going back to DPW or facilities to get these cleaned up, we should probably see if we can put him in touch with the guy that works on the cemeteries and cleans the cemetery stones, because he has a very specific way that he does it that doesn't, that preserves the
writing.
The monument.
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah,
biggest
I mean-
concern with the stones was just the fact that some of them are sinking.
Yeah.
They grow, so things are growing over them. The words on the granite stones that were around the cemetery, I think are fine for the most part. It was more the brick pavers where you can see some dirt in the lettering.
Gotcha.
You know, but it's it's just the granite stones that are around, the memorials that are around are starting to sink in certain spots, and the grass is starting to grow over them, or their tree roots are kind of knocking them sideways a little bit, things like that. So
Yeah, I mean, this one here, there are weeds growing around. It's just not good.
Would you guys recommend bringing back the Memorial Stone program, the pavers?
What is that?
So those pavers that are the ones in the walkway that are engraved with like the like one of them says last name's Colvin, Army 1965. All these stones were purchased to go in this walkway. And it started as I think it was a Boy Scout project a long time ago. There really wasn't anything going on with it when I got involved. And I think Cliff Worsley might have been the guy who was the original contact for it. So if somebody wanted to put in a paver in memory of somebody, say it was $35, and they would send in their $35. We'd get this brick engraved, and then it would be installed.
Yeah, we can look into that. I'll make a note. What did you call the program? Pavers what?
I don't know.
Pavers Memorial?
sort of memorial brick program kind of deal with more or less.
I'm doing.
It's the same thing they did at the gazebo too.
Oh,
Okay.
All those pavers there, well, not all of them, but there are pavers there that have names on them too. At the gazebo. So that wasn't that long. Well, actually, I guess it was that long ago, but that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah. So, and I remember that, Pat. It's called the Memorial Walkway, Anna, and it was there was a rededication in 2014 because there's an article in the Sentinel from 2014.
Right, is
So-
it something that could just be left open, like as?
I
you
would
know,
think
like, I don't
so.
know if there's a, is there a discounted price if you're engraving 10 bricks as opposed to one kind of?
I have no idea. Yeah.
My concern would be,
I
we
would
wanna,
have to
we probably want
say
to take
yes.
the bricks that exist out and engrave those and then put them back in. Just so that they match what's there. As opposed to putting a new brick down, it would look different. But we could put a temporary brick in its place and then, put the other ones
Oh.
back. But yeah, it's
I-
not, I mean, there's plenty of opportunity there for folks. It'd be a nice touch to offer that.
What I was going to do, so what I was looking for from this is I was going to add this to the spreadsheet, give this information to Paul. I'll remove the power wash information. And I'm gonna, because that was something that Chris and I mentioned. And I'll just ask him to, the best way. I think the biggest thing there is really the toothbrush, yeah. The biggest thing is really the weeds and the memorials, the large stones. And we can start investigating the other things, and I'll wait for him to tell us what he cannot not address right away. Because I think, some good, I think Karen, doesn't our maintenance contract has a fall cleanup clause to it? Do you
I would
recall?
think so, but I don't know if it would include, I think it would include the landscaping there, but I think the walkway and monuments might be a little bit
Yeah.
separate.
Yeah, I mean, like in this area here, this is also on the east side. That is like someone threw brush there, like, just yard waste, so.
Okay.
Okay, so, that, okay. The last thing is the posts need another coat of stain.
Yeah, we talked about staining the bench, the signs,
yeah,
the
this-
benches and signs could use some stain.
I haven't got to the benches yet.
Oh, you said the last thing, so I was,
The last few things, sorry. Yeah, so this
the
is
walkway,
the
don't forget
edge.
the crosswalk. We talked about a crosswalk too.
The crosswalk is here too.
It's not, well, no, we talked about
Right there.
that picture right there. We
Cross-
talked about maybe putting a
So,
crosswalk in, because the sidewalk that's on that side of the road that comes up to the library doesn't come up to
Yeah.
Veterans Park. The
What
sidewalk
street is
across
that?
the street.
Mass
That's
Ave.
2A. So
Okay,
it's a
so-
bigger, I realize that's a bigger issue than.
yeah, you want the good
Yeah.
news or the bad news on that? Because there's no
I
good
know.
news, and the bad news
Yeah.
is you have to go to the state.
Right, yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, see you in 3 years.
Yeah.
It's election year now. You might want to get some promises from people.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this is on the Memorial Drive. I think there was some point there were gravel there. And again, just needs maintenance. And the benches. Now for the benches, I was going to contact the Boy Scouts troop and ask them if they want to do a project.
Project, and it could probably be the benches and the sign, and I know I mentioned this to you, and I'm not bringing it up for discussion tonight, but just I think we need to have some sort of flag policy for in there, for when the flag, it should be at half mast, that sort of thing. And I actually, in thinking about that and sort of, the gist of it is, guys, is that this is a veterans park, and I feel that there are times where the flag should be lowered to half mast, because when the state issues a proclamation for half mast, it comes out as the main building in the town. It doesn't come out as, say, Veterans Park. So yeah, I think it's something that if some of this stuff, including the flag, if we come up with a policy, we might even be able to get some of our National Honor Society kids to come in and do some of it, because they're always looking for hours.
Okay.
So
Regarding, you can get an email all the time when the flags are supposed to be put down.
Yep. And so I get those,
Because that's
Pat.
how who's supposed to take care of Veterans Park, I guess, would be my question.
Well, now it'll fall under the facilities. So we get them. The problem, this isn't a problem, but because we don't have a policy, the Parks Commission doesn't have a policy. The flag gets brought down at half-mast, usually around Memorial Day for their Memorial Day ceremonies. And then it gets, usually gets put back up. In the past couple of years, either Susanna or I have gone over and put it up because nobody put it back up. But when the order comes out from the governor to bring things to half-mast, it comes out asking for it to be done at the main building. So in this case, it would be Town Hall. So there's nothing as that we should come down. And I just feel like there's times where we probably should be, where it's a veterans park, we probably should be coming down. So for future discussion.
Yes, especially if there was a, if it's for somebody that was killed in the line of duty.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely. But when that happens, it's supposed to be the flags in town. Like I know the fire department, the station, they put theirs down on that stuff. The same thing in Maynard. We do the same thing when it's not just the flag at, say, the town hall or whatever.
Yeah.
So we do it all the time.
Good to know. Good to know that we can.
Sounds like we just made a policy.
Yeah, as long as somebody, and if, you know, obviously I can run up and do it. I don't have a problem with that. I actually enjoy that, especially when we go to Maynard. So, but I don't get the email. I'm not signed up for it. So.
Yeah, it's
not
always
like
interesting to see who they raise and lower the flag for.
I'm not sure if we were supposed to do it for Queen Elizabeth.
Yes,
I know
that is an order that
so.
came out. And there were two orders that came out. One was for Queen Elizabeth and the other one was for a fallen serviceman. So that came out in the last couple of days. So the town should be at half-mast, but I don't remember the dates on it. So anyway, sorry to.
That's okay. I did put flag policy on my list of running things. So
Okay.
we'll address that
Okay.
soon. But I like that Pat's here and he already volunteered to help us out. So because you can have a policy, having someone to do the policy is what it takes.
And just so Pat knows, the flag was lowered for the Queen on the 8th of September, and it is to be flown at half-staff until the day of internment. And then the next day, another one was issued for September 13th, and from sunrise until sunset on Tuesday, September 13th. In honor of United States Army Corporal Jake Walter Bryan of Weymouth, who passed on August 28th. So yes, there's two of them. They're sort of simultaneously going, I guess you could call it. So anyway.
So is the commission okay if I add this information to the spreadsheet and send this to Paul? And I'll reach out to Boy Scouts about the benches because they installed most of those benches, and I'll investigate with Cliff Wortley about the Memorial Walkway.
Anna,
Okay.
do you want me to touch base with the boys? I coach a few kids that are
Oh, that'd be great.
one of the Boy Scout troops in town. Actually, I don't know if there's one. I think there's only one Boy Scout troop in town.
Okay, that'd be great.
But I can touch base with a parent or two and
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
see
Yeah,
what's a
and
project they might be interested in taking on.
yeah, and the file is on our shared drive, so the link to the agenda, you should have it if you need it, but it's really just the bench. Okay, awesome. I put your name on that, Chris. And I put Pat's name on the managing the raising and the lowering of the flag. I'm great at taking notes of what other people should do. Okay. Karen, do you have an
I do.
update?
And I
Okay.
did put it, let me share my screen because I do have a screen share. Let's see. All right, so the first graphic that I'm going to share, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew what Fitzgerald actually looked like. So for anybody looking that doesn't know, this is from the Lunenburg GIS website. You can change the overall, you can look at different layers. So in this case, I'm looking from this graphic from the state, this or local level, I think it is actually of the past couple of years, but you can actually go back to the 50s and see what the overhead looked like. So this is our property line. It goes all the way down here into a wooded area, runs along the road. I think it's off a little bit up by this baseball field. I will be the 3,000th person to remind everybody that this piece of property, although it's being managed by the Park Commission, actually belongs to the Conservation Commission. So doing work here would be multifaceted. So this is what that piece of property looks like. I'll show you the pictures in a second, but the general takeaway from our walkthrough was that we needed some general upkeep and field maintenance done. There is a sign, I'll show you where it was, that was up, that was taken down after it partially blew down in a windstorm. Then it wasn't taken down in a timely manner and it continued to get destroyed. So there is no signage there. The family who did a lot of work down there did reach out to us a year or two ago inquiring about that. I don't remember what the answer was from the DPW, but at some point we should be tracking down where that sign is. If it's usable, can it be repaired to make it usable, or do we need to do a whole new one? The bigger project that needs to be done here is probably some regrading of the outfield. And there could be two different ways of doing it. You could just do something simple to try to bring back the lawn that was there, fill in some of the divots and smooth it out again. Or you could, launch a bigger project and, do drainage and all this other stuff. I don't know what the right or wrong answer is, but at some point the outfield will need to be addressed. Some notes that we had, and I'm going to go take this down so I can go over to the pictures, is that, am I still screen sharing?
Yep.
Okay. Is that there are some trash cans. You can actually see them in the pictures. There's no bags or anything, and there's nobody slated to empty them, but they are certainly being used because we watched somebody walk their dog, pick up their dog's mess, put it in a dog bag, and then throw it in the trash can. So I then was curious and I looked in that trash can. I should never have done that. They're just full of poop bags. Every trash can seemed to be full of poop bags. So we currently have a carry-in, carry-out policy. These trash cans, I do not believe are town trash cans. I believe they might have been left there from the Little League. So unless the DPW or facilities is going to want to have to empty trash cans that are filled with poop bags, we may want to consider either having them removed or putting some signage up that, says Little League use only. Or something along those lines. All right, so the top left picture, that's actually the softball field. And as you'll see with the softball field and the right-hand side, which is the instructional baseball field, there's weeds that have grown up in the cinder. I'm assuming that's cinder. There's currently nobody that's maintaining that. So when you look at that baseball field, it actually doesn't look like a baseball field. It just looks like a field at this point because it's all overgrown. And I don't remember it being completely cleared this past spring season. So at some point we need to have a discussion on when we charge user fees, what we're supposed to be, what the expectation is of those user fees, because this should probably be maintained. So whether we ask Little League, use the Little League fees to maintain that or whatever, but that should be addressed. The bottom left.
Same field from a different angle?
No, these are both of the same fields.
That's what I'm saying. It's the same.
No, I'm
field.
sorry. No, they're different fields. The left-hand
Different.
one,
Okay.
the left-hand one, if you're looking at Fitzgerald Field from the street, the left-hand one, top left is the softball field with the,
Okay, yeah.
so you'll see that the whole infield is just cinder. And then on the right-hand side,
Yeah, I just was confused by
Yep,
the
is the
camera. If it was
instructional
a
baseball
funky
field.
camera angle, I was like, there's a really
Yeah,
bad, like,
the dugouts seem to be in decent condition, so there really weren't any issues there. The bottom left, by that flag, you can see that's where the sign was. So a sign should probably go back. And the other takeaway that people often miss here is that the Little League actually has a pretty good sized storage unit in that woods. We don't have any policy or anything on that. It is locked. I don't know if they use it to store year round. I don't know what they're storing in there. But that piece of equipment, for lack of a better word, is on the property. So yeah, it was a pretty simple walkthrough. The parking, for anybody who doesn't know, street side parking, I shouldn't say street side, along this fence here, folks can pull in straight in. So that it lines up the bulk of the parking. There is a small lot that they can squeeze some in. One thing that I noted as I was walking through is that the gates on this long fence, there's one all the way, when you're looking at this picture, it's all the way down to the left-hand side, which gives you access to the instructional baseball field easily. The only access on the, in this picture, it would be on the right-hand side, it's not as direct. You walk down the fence line. The fence line actually juts out a little bit in one spot. You have to walk around that, putting you closer to the street. If we ever do any fence work down there, it would be the recommendation from Dave and I that another gate be added somewhere towards the right of that flagpole, so that kids that are, that's just a busy road, and as kids get out of their car, it would be nice if they had a closer route to get onto the field area versus having to walk down Reservoir and then around this little jut out to get into the park area. So that was pretty simple.
Okay, do you want to document the recommendation for the gate on your thing?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's not even a pressing issue. That's just one of those, if we're ever in there because a car is driven through the fence, somebody mistakes the gas for the brake, that, maybe we consider doing something. It's not something that needs to be done right now, but I'll put it
Okay.
all together.
All right, when you do, can you add the information to the spreadsheet and send Paul an email with the information? Okay. All right, well, that's great. I mean, I think that's, this kind of thing, I think really does help the parties that are responsible for keeping up with this, what we need. So I appreciate everybody who's taking the time and doing these site visits. Okay, next item on the agenda is Water Commission update.
So I have nothing on that.
Okay.
This is going to be easy. So if we can table that at some
Yep.
point, we need to have a discussion as a commission. But we were originally scheduled to go today. I had my husband had done some work on a map so that we could look at what a possible layout would be. But Dave and I just decided we didn't have enough information. We sort of want to get a better consensus from the commission as well before we go back to the water district. So we can table that. We'll yell when we need it added back so we can figure out the next step.
Okay. So next item is capital planning requests. So I think I touched upon McNally. I'm going to meet with Paul over, so officially Paul will be the person submitting these requests on our behalf. And I appreciate Heather be willing to kind of changing that job description, because it does, when you start thinking about what the charter is and the job description, people executing things on behalf of parks, that's really how it should be. Some people working with us, having that be part of them, and it's been great. So I'm going to work with Paul to get these things submitted. And I think when I say work with him, is really just make sure that what we need is being requested. And for McNally, it will be the demolition of the snack shack there, the survey of the property, and design money for creating a sort of a mini master plan for the property. Because that property will need, like, there's no parking there. You know, a new shack will need to go up, and that would be a great time to put bathroom facilities. So it does need a little bit of a small master plan, but it might be that he suggests to just do the whole engineering because it's a small property. And I just want to get the okay from everyone here to that we can proceed with that. And now it's just Pat and I. We'll give people bathroom breaks, Pat. So they come back.
Yeah, I'm down in Marlboro just walking around an ice rink, so.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. This is our life for the next couple months.
Oh, just 2 months? I hear hockey goes like 9 months out of the year.
Actually,
Well-
it's 13. It's
Oh,
13.
okay.
At least in our household, it goes 13.
I was listening the whole time.
I know. So in short, I just want to get the okay from the commission that I'm going to work. When I say I'm going to work with Paul, I just want to get this project submitted, which really falls more under their to-dos than ours. But the McNally is the survey, the demolition of the current shack, and we are going to entertain if it would be sort of a mini master plan, money for a mini master plan, or the whole engineering, because it's a pretty small project. And I'm gonna take, guidance from Paul on that.
Sounds good to
So-
me.
That sounds good. Okay. I don't think we need a vote. For the town beach, he is very invested on that. He is changing the scope of the project to try to fit within the budget. And we also going to submit the engineering for Marshall Park. Now, that one, Wallace projection was about 165. She said around 165. So I'm thinking, oh, it could be more. I think we should request 200,000 altogether. Everywhere that we're going to request money for Marshall engineering, because if it's the case that we don't get enough money, if the cost comes with more than what we request, then we got to wait another season to request the additional money.
Possibly, but here's what I can tell you from the capital planning side is that every single one of their projects seems to be underestimated. So I'm wondering what they're doing, like even something that they put through last night, or they talked about last night had come through under budget. What are they doing? Those projects are still moving forward.
I
So-
don't know.
If we put in, I don't have a problem saying, let's try to put in for 200. The leftover would that could be, that
Gets put
adjusted.
back to the.
Yeah, it gets put back. But I don't, maybe it's one of those questions, like, if we did 175,000 and it came back at 180, what's the process for us to cover that remaining 5,000? And it might be something simple. What I don't want to have happen is have us put in for 200,000, and then when they do out their math, they don't have 200,000, they only have 175, so therefore they've bumped us, and we have to sit back and wait.
Okay. I'll ask him, but the deadline for the capital planning submission is 9:30. I'm hoping we don't have another meeting before then. Basically, I'm asking if it's okay to work with
Yes.
Paul on behalf of the commission to get that submitted.
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Okay. All right. And I think it'd be great to get these things. And one thing we did knock out, not needing money for a survey of Northfield Park. So that's a good, and I don't think we need to take any action on that. The next thing is, of course, I closed. So Heather also suggested that we add a capital plan town warrant for special town meeting for the Marshall Park engineering. And what I did was I copied the select board's warrant for the select board warrant for their school street park. And the town warrant reads, to see if the town vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of money for the property known as Marshall Park. I changed that. Look, 100 Chestnut Street, shown on assessor map 060 lot 018 for final engineering and design recreation open space service area at this property, including all costs related to or incidental there to whatever that pronounce that, or to take any action. Then they had a table that had the money there. The warrant article actually did not have what the quantity was. So what I want to ask from this group is, I don't think that is, I don't know if there is a process, you know, Carrie, if there is a form that we fill.
Yeah, because then it goes, yes, there's a, you can probably just submit it via email, just the way you have it written out, and it goes over to town manager, and then the select board takes a look at it.
Okay.
And then the select board actually has the final say on what gets put into the warrant.
See, I don't know about that because they, like the planning board put the articles all the time.
Yeah, but I think they do get approved by the select board to be put in there.
No,
Because
because
we-
citizens can put it like,
So it's with the exception of the citizens petitions, I do not believe have to go through the select board, but I think the other ones do. I could be wrong, but that was my understanding, because I remember having a discussion with somebody over what would happen if Parks Commission decided to put in for something and the select board said no. And the response from this person was, well, then you could just put it in as a citizen's petition.
okay, so I am looking for, the deadline for the town warrant is actually September 24th.
Yep.
So I am looking for the okay to submit a request for that, for a town warrant article. And what Heather said, and you guys had that information from my meeting notes, which was, we'll start the process. If we get engineering funds from ARPA funds, we can just pull this from the town warrant.
So if this goes through on the town, goes in as a warrant article and the town approves it, she has a way to fund it?
It wasn't clear yet
Okay,
because she hadn't finished, but because you can't wait, it can't wait for everything to be done.
yep,
She said submit, like,
okay. But she was supportive of saying submit it.
she was supportive of saying submit it. She did not commit funds because she hadn't finished her budgeting. And she did say it's a large amount. That's not usually what we fund at special town meeting. Special town meeting, you need 2/3 of the vote. But she does understand, you know, our predicament.
Okay,
Okay, so is that okay with the commission? I don't think do you need a vote, Karen?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That sounds good to me.
All right, and I'll talk with her about the amount to be submitted. Type of thing. All right, so ARPA funds for Marshall Park Master Plan. So she actually suggested three requests for ARPA funds. One was the bathroom facilities. Another one was the engineering. And the last one was for a phasing of the project. And because they're looking to start committing funds now or not. She doesn't know if the select board is going to commit all the funds now, if they're going to allocate all the funds now. I'm gonna stop sharing. So the bathroom facilities, we actually can get an idea of the money that we'll need based on what WOLA submitted. Because it does call out for bathroom facility prefab. And she does have and Board of Health does have has information about the cost for the septic. And we also have the idea of Marshall Park engineering costs. But for the construction, we are talking now about building, like engineering is done, and let's start building something. She said, well, you guys have talked about phasing. Do you have the cost for phasing? And I said, no, what Wallace submitted was the cost of, groundwork or this and that. And she suggested to reach out back to Walla and ask Walla to rework their cost estimated, broken down by phases, as it is on the document that they had. So I did that. I did reach out to Walla, and Walla replied to me today saying they should have that estimate. They should have a cost for reworking the cost by next Tuesday. Heather said that we can use the money left over from engineering to pay Walla for this reworking of the phases. So the goal here would be for Walla to rework the cost estimates based on the phasing projects. So then we can submit ARPA funds request by phasing what we wanted for that. Does that make sense? Because there's a lot of work in here. Okay. So for the last piece, what I need is the following. Since we don't have a meeting by next Tuesday, I do not have an idea of how much this Walla reworking would be. We have about $13,000 in change left over. What I need is us to be comfortable with a number to be used for reworking that. And once I get that information back from Walla, I think we will need to meet again as a commission to decide how much money we would be asking for from ARPA funds to be submitted to the select board. So I'm trying us to not have two meetings. I did reach out to Walla right away, but they couldn't turn around any quicker. And I am going to also, I might touch base with a couple engineering companies to see if they can give me also an estimate for reworking that. Because the paperwork that Walla submitted does break down where things are. So it's really just regrouping everything. And I think any engineering could do it. So what are the thoughts on this? And this is time sensitive.
It's September 30th, right, for ARPA?
Right. And I'm not gonna have information back from Walla, and I am going to reach out to another engineering firm, trying to get another quote for reworking the cost.
I
Can
think
we-
I think we got to do whatever we need to do. And that if that means we have to, if you need us to meet again, then we meet again. If we don't think we need to, then we don't need to, and you just do it.
Well, we do need to, I would want the commission's feedback on submitting requests for the ARPA fund construction. I think that's a big ask. I mean, we're gonna be asking the town for a lot of money, or for little money. I don't want to make that decision on my own. But the Walla part is the one that I think we have the funds available to us. We can, what are we comfortable with?
I'm not sure. So you're looking for an amount we're comfortable with for,
Reworking the cost estimates.
remember, they're already doing it, so they're just gonna hand us a bill. Like, what are we?
Well,
Right.
I
I mean-
asked for quote, to provide a quote, because I didn't have the, I can't spend money on behalf of the commission. And I need to have a quote. I need to have an idea of how much money I'm gonna be asking.
So when
And
are they
I-
giving you a quote? If they're gonna give you the reef work funding next week?
Next Tuesday, she said that she would have the costs. And I did tell her that I need the work reworked by the end of the month.
We're gonna need it before, we need it, if we need to meet again to discuss it, then we have to submit by September 30th, so
Right.
we would need the rework cost like next week.
Right, that's what she's gonna give me on Tuesday. And I need the okay from the
But you're looking
commission.
for, I guess I'm confused, because you just said you're looking for an amount we're comfortable with to pay for the reworking of the cost.
Right,
So what are they giving you next Tuesday? Are they giving you the rework cost, or are they giving you an estimate of what it's gonna cost to do the rework cost?
they are giving me the aspect, they're giving me what it will cost to rework the construction cost.
And then how long is it gonna take them to do the,
I'm assuming it's going to be quick. And this comes from Heather and also from, I did give Walla the time frame. So just so the public knows what I'm talking about, if anyone watched this afterward. We received this
the
from
detailed budget
Walla.
that wasn't broken out in phases, the detailed budget?
No. Of course I just used that.
Yeah, the cost estimate form.
Yeah, so this here it was, and it was just general
So it's
requirements,
A and B.
bonds. Yeah, like here you start getting
Option one.
earthwork removal.
Okay.
So like, so for example, A3, that is parking lot on both both sides. On phase one and phase and the other phase. So you have pavement here and you have pavement there, two different phases.
I don't even need to make a recommendation of what we're willing to spend. I mean, we just, if we're gonna submit for ARPA funds, we need it done. So it doesn't really matter, I don't think.
I mean, I'm not gonna make that decision for the board, so that's why I'm asking, like.
I mean, we
Do I
have
have-
13
Do I
grant.
have the
rec-
okay? Yeah, do I have the okay from the commission to spend funds to get this document here reworked according to the phase shown? That's.
And are you looking to use the remaining funds that we have left to pay for that?
Yeah,
Yeah, then I'm okay with
Yeah,
that.
that's fine. I can't
Okay.
imagine it's gonna cost 13 grand.
no, Heather said it will not cost that much,
I
but
hope.
yeah. And because I'm frugal the way I am, I'm probably gonna approach someone else.
Can
Okay,
can you approach somebody else? Are we allowed to use that money to pay somebody else?
Heather said we
okay.
are.
We're not on the hook so. Yeah, I mean, I would just go to WOLA and say, how quickly can you turn this around?
I did.
And then,
I believe by the time next Tuesday comes, it's going to be, I think by the time, I think it's really like you're probably busy this, last
yeah,
week.
I guess I'm kind of
then,
shocked
like-
that they need a week or two to tell you how
Right.
much it's gonna cost them to redefine the,
Right.
I don't know, it seems a little
I
shocking.
think it's
Um,
just they're busy. They couldn't get to it, but I'm gonna make sure we get the information. And then we will need to meet, because what we'll need to do, so once we have this reworked as per phases, okay? What we'll need to decide is how much money are we asking for construction of ARPA, from the ARPA funds. And that part, I think it should be a commission discussion, and it'll be a limited item on the agenda, and we can, we'll just have that talk. Do we like that plan? Like, any feedback? And I know we're approaching the 3-hour mark.
I'm
Yeah,
good
I
with.
just think it's become, oh, go ahead, Karen, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Chris.
I go back to my original thoughts on, trying to do this in phases, and, it's all gonna boil down to, the what's deemed phase 1, 2, 3, 4, however we want to break this down is gonna be, and when they're done is gonna be, dictated by when funds are available. And so it may get tricky to determine, how much money we're asking for. I mean,
Well,
if we say, we're gonna
ARPA
pick phase
funds are
1 and
available.
2, or, and I can't imagine, I don't know, like, how much engineering is gonna have to go into phase 3, that would impede, completion of phase 1 or 2. Like I'm assuming they can't, like 3 kind of has to be done, I would suspect, before 1 or 2, because they're gonna need access, like they're gonna need to move material, they're gonna need to move, things in there and in and out of there. And if 1 and 2 are done first, then we're creating a disruption to those areas. If then we say 3 is next, I feel like 3 is kind of going to have to be before the other ones. 4 is a separate entity because it's on the other side of the pond. But moving material through in and out of phase 3 on the map is, I would assume, is going to take precedence over at least 1 or 2. But again, it depends on when funding's available. Like I wouldn't be in, I wouldn't be in favor of, doing phase
yeah.
2 if we say now we're talking about April, because then it disrupts, ball seasons for teams.
So ARPA funds are available as of today.
There's going to be a timeline in which they actually put the money in your hands, right? I mean,
Meaning,
I don't know how long it takes to actually, how long, is it instantaneous? Like,
yes.
we're approved and they're gonna cut us a check, kind of deal.
Well, yeah, like if we submit engineering is one of the things, right? We submit engineering of Marshall Park and they approve it October 1st. We can draft the IFB October 2nd and publish. Like it's available now.
Okay, all right.
But when we get the cost by phases, we can make that decision. And I think that's when we'll need to do it as a group.
Yeah, I think it's something we need to tackle next,
Right.
we gotta have that next week.
Right. So as soon as I get that
yeah.
information from Catherine, we'll likely post an agenda item. And it'll be just that. Okay. All right. So that's good. So thank you. Pat, do you have anything, or do you like just hearing that the money is available now?
No, I like that it's available.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
And Heather's been great. So anyway, okay. Next item on the agenda. Believe me or not, we might be able to get this done. All right. So this is interesting. I was in the open space committee meeting this past week, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I prefer seeing beautiful faces. And this last week we had the open space committee meeting, and Matt Allison is the new planning board representative to the open space. And he said that Lufa Farms project is coming down the pipeline fast because they're looking to transfer the permit that the previous farm had to Lufa Farm, which means that they won't have to do a lot of the work. It'll be just modified permit. And what Matt Allison said is that this will be approved over the next few months. And I think he might have used the word "3" over the next few months. So because all of this is happening, and we had talked about, Karen, do you want to share the map? The GIS map, or do you want me to do it?
Did I put a copy of it online? I
What
don't
do you
think I
mean?
had, I can
bring it up and I can share.
I mean, I can pull it up on the GIS page. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so when the previous, what was it, Bright Farms? When Bright Farms was here, they were considering giving a piece of the land there to connect. This is, oh, I'm sorry, this is talking about the Northfield Park. Conservation was talking about getting a piece of land, negotiating a piece of land with the property owner or Bright Farms to create a connection between conservation property and the parks, so that they had a continued space that, it could be used for open space, which is a great idea. What it has, one thing that I think Karen has spoken to me, or we have been in conversations before, even Dave, I think, spoke about it last meeting, is to maybe talk about access through Lufa Farms into the parks. Because if we are to build fields on that property, there will be a lot of traffic going down Northfield. And if we all remember, Northfield is not a very wide road. Northfield is a scenic road, which means it cannot be easily disturbed or to make it wider. And I think
I'm pulling up sharing, just FYI.
okay. And it'll be somewhat detrimental to residents on that area. It's also a tough turn. That turn between Northfield on Chase is already busy and cause of a lot of accidents. So if we could get access through Lufa Farm, it would be great. So
Do you want me to explain what we're looking at?
yeah, why don't you do
Okay,
that?
so this highlighted box here, number 9, that's the new Northfield Park. That's the piece, our newest piece of property. This is going to get a little interesting. So this 31.2 is the piece of property that Lufa Farm is looking at. If you follow 31.2 down towards Mass Ave, which is at the bottom, this is Walmart right here. And then I don't know where their exit point's going to be, whether they're going down through closer to Walmart on some easement, or if they're just going to come straight down to 2A by themselves. Number 1 over here, this is Conservation Commission property. The thing that we need to note on this is that, and this is Chase Road over on the right-hand side. This section here, can you see my cursor? That section there, it's a mistake on this map. This was actually the piece of, this is a little section that Bright Farms was negotiating with Conservation Commission. This is my understanding of it, to give them access to, or give them, or whatever it was going to be, so that conservation could connect into this parks piece of property. It's my understanding that this property line should actually not include that cutout. It should go from where my cursor is right now up straight up to the corner of our property. If that happens, technically conservation is not an abutter of, or doesn't abut our property. They're an abutter. They just don't, they're only, our connection point is a corner. So that's what we're looking at.
Right. So what I wanted from this commission is the following. Last time they were negotiating that little cutout for conservation, but parks was not part of the conversation. And I want to force us being part of the conversation by making an official request to the parties involved. And the first request is, I want to, and this was something that Dave and Karen have made, and it's not necessarily my my idea. So I'm just saying that because I want to give credit where credit due. The first request is to ask the select board, the planning board, and the conservation commission to negotiate access to the Northfield property with an easement from Lufa Farms. So as they're working this deal with them, because it's not just a permit, there will be some, they're looking for some tax credits too, and those can be a little bit negotiated. And there's tax credit, there's also depreciation on some things, and like it gets interesting. So it would be great if that access could be coming straight from SF to the property. So they would negotiate that on our, or they invite us to the conversation, or they know that we're interested in that. So the second one is, I want us to also approach the Conservation Commission and say, hey, if you get that cut out there, we would like to build a road starting on Chase Road through your property, coming to our property when we develop that property. And I want to have that conversation now, because if they have plans for that property, if they're planning to build trails or so forth, it would be important for them to know that we are interested in having an access road in their property so they can plan their trails and everything accordingly. And that's why I would like us to have an official position on this. And I'll be happy to communicate with everybody involved, or someone else can offer themselves to communicate with everybody involved. But anyway, what are everybody's thoughts?
I like
this.
the idea of contacting the select board.
Planning board.
Yeah, and advocating for us on that, the Lufa Farm side of the property. I'm a little bit more hesitant on the conservation side, only because they don't abut us enough to be able to put an access road in there. So it's almost like we're asking for something that couldn't happen. So I don't know if maybe just the correspondence with the select board and planning board would be enough. But I could be wrong.
Okay, Chris, do you have any thoughts? I mean, it's just an ask, like, hey, keep us in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, maybe informally say, hey, if access
you're
is,
sharing
you're
your
sharing,
screen.
Karen.
Oh, okay. It's not what I meant to be doing. Okay. Oh, God help me.
I guess if we don't have, if just laying the groundwork, I guess with the Conservation Commission to
Yeah.
the point of if, hey, it'd be great if, just keep this in the back of your mind kind of deal. Like if these two pieces of property actually, it did work out where they connected,
Yeah.
if you guys were open to it, if you were ever doing anything with the property, it'd be great to have an access road. Although it's conservation, I mean, it would be a.
No, conservation have access roads.
Right, no, yeah, but I mean, I'm just picturing this more of a road.
Right,
Yeah,
but
guess.
conservation does
Yeah.
have access, roads to it. It's about development that conservation can't have it. You can't develop the land, but you can have access.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not a step above, but it is pretty close to a like trails, like it's doable. There are access.
I mean,
roads.
the more access we can gain to that Northfield property,
Right.
not on Northfield Road, I think the better off we are in the long run.
Right. So I think
So
my thought.
just kind of a passive sort of, hey, by
What
the way,
about
it'd be great if we, if this
Well,
happened kind of thing.
Yeah.
Something we thought about.
Well, yeah.
Who's on, Anna, what about an official correspondence to the select board and planning. Who from planning, I mean, I'm sorry, who from conservation is on open space?
Mary
Bob?
Wilson. Mary Wilson.
Mary Wilson. I wonder if it would be just in more of a casual, hey, if this, I guess I'm still just hesitant in asking for something that's not even, at this point, it's not even physically possible. So if it's gonna be an official correspondence, it's gonna have to go through as, if by chance you get a piece of property from Lufa Farms, we would like you to consider putting an access road or
Well, you know,
working with us or.
Yeah, the interesting thing is if we say to them, we have interest on this, it actually makes their case stronger to get that piece of land. Like we actually like, you know, we are actually helping them having one more reason to have that. Because it's serving.
Oh, I don't disagree. I just want to be careful on the
Is
way.
it counterproductive though? Like if we,
I don't think it's counterproductive to just.
well, just
let
from
them
the
know.
standpoint, like we're asking Lufa Farm for, you know, an easement to approach that property. But then we're asking the Conservation Commission for, I guess, kind of essentially the same thing if they were granted that little corner.
Right, we're exploring
is there-
ideas.
You know, does that you know, does Luba then say, well, you're gonna have access from 13, so you don't need access from Mass Ave? I don't know.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, I don't see I'm not sure the easement through their entire property, it's something that will easily come. I don't see that. I actually think but I think it's a fair ask. I think you tell them there's a lot of interest. I think on both cases, just saying what our ideas are helps the negotiations, helps the conversations. For Lufa Farm to understand that we need access to a piece of property that abuts them, they are more likely to then understand why there is even a greater need for the little nook there. For conservation to know that we'd like to build an access road possibly through there, also give them, you know, greater weight to their request. So
I'm in line with official correspondence request with Select Board, Planning Board for, you know, with respects to Lufa Farm, and
okay,
a little more passive conversation with Conservation Commission about what we kind of have in mind.
what'd you say, Pat?
Yeah, I'm on the same with Chris. I guess if we get the stuff from Lufa Farms, we don't really need access for conservation. Because you're already getting the access from Lufa Farms. So putting it in with the select board and the planning board is definitely something I think we should look at
Okay,
more. Because if you get that, you don't really need the access, whether they get it or not, because we have the access at that point.
It'd be great to have it off of 13 as well. I mean, if you had both, that's all the better.
Right.
Well, it depends on what we want to do with that property too, but that's another conversation for another day.
I think 13's too busy for that.
I was thinking
It's-
on the same lines as Pat. I just think it might be opening up
been-
another bad intersection.
Yeah, that Chase Road, like Anna said, that's a horrible intersection.
Cutting across, from Northfield. and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
You know, I'm just surprised there hasn't been more than there has been.
yeah,
So, but yeah, opening up that I think isn't really worth it.
okay,
Especially if we're getting that access from 2A there from Lufa Farms.
okay. All right, so I'll send an email to, I don't know what an official request looks like in this town. But I will,
Send me
I-
something. I'll put it on letterhead and send it to them.
okay, I can do that. And I think you can send it to them, and I think it would come under board communication from other boards, right? When they have their select board has their meetings.
I would think so.
Yeah, and I'll touch base with Matt, and I'll ask him to also read it in record. Okay, all right. So we'll able. I can bring it up. What Chris said, a more passive comment during open space. Well, with conservation, so they know. And we'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Okay. 2 items down. Okay. Look at this. We're on item 17. Other business that may legally come before the board, not know at the time of the posting. I don't have anything else.
I don't think I do either.
Okay, correspondence, announcements, and public and board comment. Do we have any board comments?
The only thing I'd point out would be the email we got from the skate park.
The
Yesterday,
email we got from who?
from the skate park yesterday.
Oh, yeah, you know what? And yep, so please make that comment because I told Anthony I'd mention it tonight and I forgot.
That's why I kind of brought up the public comment thing earlier. Just
Yep,
because
yep.
that was the only thing that I had in my mind was, so they're receiving money from the DA's office. I think it's $5,000. There's going to be a check presentation, kind of photo op, early October 3rd, 1 o'clock. The skate park group committee has offered for us to come to just say hello and shake hands and so forth, and it's just see civic engagement in action. So that's just
do we-
something that's there for us to.
That's
I
great.
think
Do we
everyone
have
everyone has
anybody
it in their
who-
email, so we should be able
Yeah.
to, it's there for everyone to.
Do we
I guess
have
the
a
only thing that would
volunteer
pertain to that
go?
would be if 3 or more of us went, then we'd have to.
No, I don't, I think we'd be, I think we'd be
Or do
okay
we not
there.
need to post
'cause-
an agenda?
Yeah, because we're not, we wouldn't be deliberating. There's like,
We're not meeting.
it's
okay.
right.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Well, let's make sure someone will be there. Do we have a volunteer that can be there? For sure, and if other people can join, they will be there
Day of
as
the week.
well.
I didn't look at the day of the week that was.
It's a Monday, so I actually
I should
talked to
be able-
Anthony about it this morning. I have a commitment that day. If nobody else can go, I'll go. I'll just have to bring a little human with me.
I think I can get over there at 1
I am.
1 o'clock. I think I can get over there.
Yeah, I'm at the fire station, which
Okay.
happens all when everything is going on.
Don't worry, Pat. There's a lot, as you've seen, 18 items on the agenda today.
Oh,
There
yeah.
will be enough things happening. Okay, so Chris, I will do my best to be there. Mondays sometimes it can be a little, like my schedule can be not settled. I'll do my best, but since you can be there, we appreciate that.
Yeah. it's-
Okay, and if I can, I'll join you as well. Thank you. All right, next meeting time. So as I forewarned everyone, we may likely meet again. But let's plan, I'll let everybody know when I get the information, but let's plan October meeting. I know Karen won't be here. Chris, do you have any restrictions for the, we usually do third Mondays, right, Karen?
We usually do Wednesdays.
Wednesday, yeah, I meant that. Thursday. See, you get to the 3-hour mark and I don't function well.
Yeah, I logged out my brain shut off a long time ago. We usually do the third this week.
We're on
this
this month we did the second, right?
Second, so because we knew we were gonna have a lot to, which was good. Okay, so that will be October 19. Chris, are you available?
That right now looks fine.
Okay, all right. Pat, are you available October 19 to the best that you can predict?
Would you like me to say it? I'm at the
Yeah.
fire station. But yes, as long as everybody
So, all
is
right, so
good, I can do it. So
let me throw this out there to you because I'm gonna be in a 6-hour time difference, so I'm not joining you that night.
This is before, Karen. I don't know if you know this. So it's
What?
gonna be like 1 PM where you're.
I'm
gonna
not
be.
giving up my day to come to Parks Commission. No,
Hey,
no. Not happening.
come on.
Pat,
Maybe we should all go down where she is.
well, if you'd
And
like to, but you're gonna have to pay your own way.
Oh,
I got a big suitcase.
Are you at the station every Wednesday night?
Nope.
I'm just wondering if you guys should consider switching, if Pat's not there on the 12th or the 26th, because I'm just worried that if Dave doesn't show up or can only come for 45 minutes to an hour, now you don't have a quorum if
Right.
Pat's not there.
I can do the 12th to 26th.
Okay.
So
I could do the 26th.
Karen, are you gonna be back on the 26th?
I'm back, but I have something on that evening
Okay.
already.
All right, so let's do the 26th, just so we can make sure we have a quorum. All right,
And I will, what I'll do is I will request, I'm actually gonna request it now, the link for the Zoom meeting.
for the 26th.
Because I definitely won't be submitting your agenda. So what I'll do is I'll send you some letterhead. I'll send you the Zoom link and the email address of who you have to submit everything to.
Okay, appreciate that.
that.
Awesome, and I know we did cross the 3-hour mark, but this was a long agenda. We had some long discussions, but I think we got a lot done. I appreciate everybody. With that said, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'm making a motion to adjourn at 10:07.
Second.
Karen,
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Pat?
I
All right, and I have for myself, and good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
and I'll toot when I drive by.